You've been chasing your monsters and they've been driving you bonkers, just blinding with rocket launchers of light to blow out their conscious. If you really wanna juxtapose and take a darker color with the blusher rose, and then you put it in your ink and watch it go, your mind is always open when your eyes are closed, because you're blind to color and you're blind to greed, blind to all the things that you don't need. And you find a mind and then you plant a seed, then you nourish it a little, let it free it up, kept breaking it down. Wanna give up, keep holding your ground, turning it up and down.
Well, it is September of 2020, the dumpster fire that is 2020, and we're back here in Donnie's garage putting out another Whiskey Throttle show. I'm your host, David Pingree. With me, as always, Grant Langston. We got Donnie Bales working the switches, and it's been a little bit. We've been having trouble tracking Chad Reed down, but we've got him back today for our third installment of the Chad Reed series here on the Whiskey Throttle show. If you haven't listened to the first two, go back and start all over. I think this is going to wind up being probably 9 hours.
I think something in that nature, yeah.
Which sounds ridiculous, but it's been really, really good stuff. It's shocking how good his memory is.
Yeah.
He's able to recall details that you just wouldn't think he'd be able to. And it's been a lot of fun. So looking forward to wrapping that up with him today, kind of rounding out his career from really the start of the 2-2 Motorsports team on. Is kind of where we left off. So we'll pick up from there and get the rest of his story. So looking forward to that. Want to thank Yamaha for supporting this show as our title sponsor. We can't thank them enough. It's not free to come and do these things and put them on, and we have expenses that we have to cover. So we sure appreciate Yamaha being on board, and we've got some cool stuff. By the time our next show drops, there is a brand new Yamaha Superjet coming out. If you're into personal watercraft, stand-ups in particular, which I've always loved, and the Superjet's been always a very stable, solid platform, from the square nose to the newer round nose that was really awesome, to now this new model, and there's only 2 of them in the country. We're going to get a test ride on one of those next week, and so we'll have a little video to share with you. We'll be posting that on our social as well, but really excited about that.
Hey, I got a square nose that I bought brand new in 1990, and I still have it.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I had 2 that were 20-some years old, and ran like clocks. So we always talk about Yamaha kind of leading the industry in terms of reliability and performance, and it's not BS. I mean,
there's no doubt about it. I have a buddy that rides a YZ450. I forgot what year it is, 08. And he was a professional mechanic. He's never rebuilt the motor, has 350 hours on that bike.
That's wild.
Yeah, and he still rides it. Now, he's not pinning the thing everywhere, but he still rides a lot, and the bike is still going.
Well, it definitely speaks to the quality of their work. But this new Yamaha Superjet is a 4-stroke, which is sort of been, for stand-ups anyway, sort of a new evolution in that. And so we'll share that more with you. But really excited to give that a try next week. Also, big thank you to PowerDot, 20% off using that code. And I know with all the COVID crap going on, you can't really get into physical therapists. You can't get massages. There's a lot of the sort of personal bodywork stuff you can't go do. And the PowerDot is such a great fill-in for that. You can order online. You don't have to touch anybody if you don't want to. It shows up at your house. And you can do all those things. Massage, rehab, injury prevention. What an amazing tool. So check those guys out. All of it. And you get 20% off using our code, Whiskey Throttle, at checkout. No capitals, no spaces. So thank you to PowerDot.com. Go over, check those guys out. Just have a look at that stuff. Method Race Wheels, bringing you our front-end chatter. And you can get 20% off using our code there as well on a set of wheels, which adds up to big savings. Troy Lee Designs, bringing you our timeout, which we may not get to if we've got Reedy on a roll. We might just run through it. But Troy Lee Designs is a big part of this show also. And they've got new casual wear out, including this hat. They also have all their 2021 stuff dropping October 10th. So not too long. If you're looking for new gear, maybe hold off and check that stuff out. It's going to be sweet. We've seen some of it, shot some photos in some of it, and so it's rad. You're going to dig it. Something for everybody there. SKDA also, if you're looking for graphics, these guys make the best. That's pretty much all I got to tell you there. They're bringing you our Get At Me Q&A, and you can get our Whiskey Throttle Show graphics, 20% off. They're also selling now a GL graphic, which is pretty cool.
I'd like to take all the credit, but they were like, do you want to try something a little bit different? I said, let's do it. What do you think? I said, it's perfect. You want any changes? I said, no. Let's do it. So it looks great, I think.
Up. Anyway, you can buy GL's graphics. Same thing he runs on his bike. Go over there to SKDA. Check those guys out.
Easy to put on.
Yeah, man.
The material they use is so good. It just really lends to the contours of the plastic. You know, sometimes it's really hard to get in and out. Whatever they've done it right, and you can get the air out and you can get it to sit and seal properly, so they actually last longer as well.
Yeah, great stuff. We love those guys. We love everything about what they've got going on, and they've got some new cool stuff that'll drop in 21 that is going to sort of change the game for design again, and that's just why we love them. They're right out front leading. So very cool. Adidas, don't be a dick to your feet. Get in some good shoes. That'll help your ankles, knees, and hip joints. And also have a look at their casual. Adidas makes a ton of stuff, man. You get on their website, you can browse around all day. Pro Circuit, go over to Instagram and follow these guys. At Pro Circuit 78 is their handle. And they've got constantly items of the week where they're blowing stuff out, new products coming in. If you're looking for pit bike stuff, they did a new run on triple clamps and all kinds of stuff for the Yamaha TTR. If you can find one of those. Yeah, it's blowing back up.
The whole 110, even just like the KLX 140, even they're making a lot of parts and accessories, the 230. Yeah. So a lot of those sort of more recreational bikes, they're doing a little bit where you can, spice them up a little bit, make them look good, run good.
So I talked to, I happened to be up at a race in Montana last weekend, the 32-1 Classic in Helena, all two-stroke stuff, and bumped into Carson Brown was there racing. So his dad and uncle own BBR. And he was saying they're selling more stuff than they did back in the heyday of the mini bike racing scene, which was like 5, 6, 7.
Even before that, it was picking up.
So anyway, that's great. So if you're looking for that stuff, get over to Pro Circuit. They'll sell it to you, and they give discounts on there that are great. Dunlop Tires, big thank you to them. Try the combo I mention to people all the time is the MX-53 front with the MX-33 rear. Amazing setup. My favorite. Nihilo Concepts. You get a free gift over there if you buy something using our code. And I want to just mention a couple of the new items they have. Fully floating front rotors. These things are pretty amazing the way they're built. It's like a works rotor, something you'd see on a factory race bike. Very cool. And they also have the SOS switch. So I don't know if you've seen these. Now that everything's gone electric, this is super cool. The SOS is a secondary on switch. So if you happen to be in a crash or hit something and break your starter switch up on your handlebar, they have places where you can mount a second starter switch, just a wire that runs from your battery to somewhere. They can mount it on the frame, you can mount it in the airbox, but somewhere where if you break that starter switch up on your bar, you've got another way to start your bike other than bump starting.
Guys on race teams run that?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. It's a new product, but it wouldn't stun me to see that happening, because imagine if you're way out on a trail ride and smash into a tree and destroy your start button.
That's
problems.
a good point.
You got problems.
If you're at the bottom of a valley, you can't bump start your bike, can't push it back
That's
up.
what I'm saying. You could be in big trouble. Yeah. So a really neat product, and again, why we love the companies we partner with. Nihilo Concepts making great stuff. So check those guys out. Fire Department Coffee. Damn it, we all drink coffee here, most of us, except weirdos like Donnie. If you're going to do it, support a company that supports the sport by supporting the show. They give 10% of their net proceeds to injured firemen and their families. Fire Department Coffee, 20% off using our code. They have K-Cups, beans, ground, whatever you want. Go over there and check them out.
That's all I drink.
Yeah, you can get on a drop ship where they ship you stuff every month, whatever you want to do. And use our code Whiskey Throttle. Again, no capitals, no spaces. Get 20% off over there.
Coffee of the month. They're always coming out with something new and cool.
Yeah.
I enjoy just going on and seeing what they got going, and then even some of the new like designs that they do. It's pretty cool.
The T-shirts and stuff.
And or even like the packaging.
Yeah.
Like, what is that one? Let me check it. Ooh.
Yeah, the Skull Crusher, like that stuff's pretty. Yeah. All kinds of rad stuff. We love being involved with those guys, so check them out. Seat Concepts. If you're looking for just a more comfortable saddle for anything, whether it's a motorcycle, street bike, adventure bike, quad, snowmobile, they've got you covered. Get over to Seat Concepts and check those guys out. Amazing stuff. Just a better quality, better material, making the products, and it equates to a better ride. It's more comfortable.
Yeah, not trying to pick on the Austrians, but their seats generally aren't the most comfortable, and they're very big in the off-road market. They're not that comfortable. Whereas the Seat Concept, they've gone away from this sort of just old traditional rounded, and it's nice and flat, so it supports your cheeks where you need it without putting the pressure sort of like on your tailbone. And then you can get it in a variety of obviously styles, colors, but also different grip So if you want like something where you can slide around more, if you're that kind of person, they have a really slick one, and then they have an intermediate, and then like super grippy. So
Yeah.
there's something for everyone. I think the intermediate for me is the way to go. The slick one, if you're paddling through the woods like I do with my short legs sometimes, you're falling off the back. So so some of them they have like where it's a little smoother on top with a little bit of grip for your knees.
Yeah.
So you get a bit of everything. You get the, what do they call those now? The little ribs across the back, so you can get like aggressive, semi-aggressive, just a few near the back. So you never would have thought a seat could be that complex or have that many options, but yeah.
And they also make seats now for the new Yamaha Tenere, which it's a huge difference. And I think even on your bike, when I rode your EXC, they make it where it's wider in the back. It actually fans out, and you kind of go, well, what the hell's that for? Once you ride it, I mean, it's like sitting into a sofa. It's so nice.
A lot of times, if you're not on it, you're sitting in that casual position, and that's where your ass is going to be more often than not, is 2/3 of the way back, and that's where it's...
But I find where it
that's where
flares
my
out.
ass is at all the time.
near the back.
Yeah.
What's great about that design, though, is where it flares back and you're standing, it kind of gives you something to push back against. So it's sort of dual purpose. It's really neat. Anyway, amazing products.
It's like the new bump.
It is, the new hump, but it's more effective.
But I hated those. I felt like I was being violated the whole
And
time.
actually, Dean Wilson runs some made-up janky thing on the side of his seat, if you've ever seen it. And it's the same thing. It's like two humps on the side, so his knees can kind of grab onto that and provide some leverage. So anyway, seatconcepts.com. Check those guys out for all your seat needs. Specialized, if you're looking for a bicycle, don't waste your time hunting around. Specialized is the leader in that industry. And whether it's a 20-inch bike, kids' bikes, mountain bikes, downhill bikes, e-bikes, Specialized makes the best products. And
hey, I've been riding mine back. Like GL and I have the same little. I just ride straight through the riverbed, and just the trails back here are awesome.
So fun.
Right from my house.
There's a lot of cool riding there.
Yep, and e-bikes are just growing and getting to be a bigger and bigger segment. A lot of the mountain bike parks are kind of like snowboards did back in the day. Everybody was a little reluctant to let them in, and it's the floodgates are opening. E-bikes are going to be allowed everywhere because that's what everyone's going to be riding.
Yeah.
So check out Specialized, and also OGIO. I want to thank those guys. The best bags, backpacks, gear bags, helmet bags, boot bags, hydration packs.
Well, they also have these new like combo bags, so you can have like your boot bag with the helmet bag, and it all fits in these compartments in your nice big gear bag. So
Yep, multiple sizes of gear bags. So check them out. Amazing products. And again, when you talk about durability, you buy one, you won't need another one for years and years and years. So really great bags.
And their flight bag that a lot of the riders and teams and when I travel use, it's designed to literally just fit in the overhead compartment. So it's a perfect size, and surprisingly, you get a lot in there, and it's only about, yay big.
Yeah, meant to fit in the overhead compartment and be legal with all airlines, but it also, a lot of them will have an extra zipper that you can open, and it'll extend, so if you need more space and you want to check it, or you're driving somewhere, you can fit more stuff in there. Very, very innovative, and like I said, the reliability of them is incredible. So big thank you to OGIO. If you want to look at them online, it's OGIO_powersports. And they make amazing products. So check those guys out. Our Method Race Wheels front end chatter. Let's dive into it. These guys bringing you the lightest, strongest, fastest wheels in off-road. So if you've got a Sprinter, truck, Jeep, van, go check them out. Make it look better, work better. GL, let's start with talking about the Nationals. You've been there, obviously, to all of them, calling the action. You've been paying attention. What's your takeaway so far?
Well, my takeaway, I think that's been pretty cool this season is just the fact that the unpredictability. Every weekend, you start thinking, you know what's going to happen, and it changes. I mean, even just look at Redbud. There were 2 rounds at Redbud. The results from the first one to the second one were quite drastically different. It was almost like a tale of 2 race weekends, but you would think, okay, well, we went to Loretta's twice, Redbud twice. All of those events, the results were different. So, 250s, Ferrandis just got the speed, got the pace. He's just been on it, but literally a few mistakes have cost him dearly. Redbud going down by himself, then bad start. He's made life pretty tough on himself in that aspect. But on the flip side, Jeremy Martin, he's finding sort of his groove again. You know, that kind of old J-Mart from a few years ago before he got injured. And I think he knows that he may not quite have the speed on Ferrandis, but he's getting good starts, not making the big mistake, and in fact now has the points lead.
True veteran moves by Jeremy Martin.
He's obviously giving it everything he's got, and the speed is just not quite there compared to Ferrandis, you know. And I was even talking with a buddy of mine, Gareth Swanepoel, and he said, you know, we go to the track and he trains basically the star team minus Ferrandis. He goes, we go, and you know, everyone's got the stopwatches, and he goes, my guys are a second or two quicker than most of the other guys, and he goes, and then Ferrandis shows up and he's a second or two quicker than everyone else. So, like they said, it's just been everyone's trying to figure out how to match him on speed. But as long as he makes mistakes, it's
what do you think of that move with Ferrandis and Jeremy, where he came and kind of rear-ended him or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think everyone has an opinion, of course, and you can take it for what it's worth. I think Ferrandis was coming. Martin was closing the door. I do think it was a bit of a racing incident. I thought it was maybe Ferrandis a little ambitious, you could say, but he was also a little ambitious with his move on Christian Craig in Supercross, and people had a meltdown over that. So I think Ferrandis is just a no hesitate. If he
I don't
sees
think
a
it was
gap,
that bad of a move. I mean, it was obviously shouldn't have taken him down, but I just think it was
for
like
sure.
I just it looked like he didn't anticipate that Jeremy was going to come over so far.
And
That's what it looked like to
Jeremy
me.
did close the door. And
Yeah.
you know, you could just tell if you look at it in slow motion, Ferrandis had more speed. Martin was coming. It's like a car crash.
Yeah.
You know, you see it coming, but
Well, yeah, and as a racer, a lot of times you'll try to just show a wheel and get the guy to make a mistake, or maybe he overcooks the turn or whatever. And in this instance, it looked like his front fender or something bar just clicked Jeremy, and it went badly. But
well, he was
9 times
closing
out of
the door,
10, yeah,
and
you
I
would
think
do that
was part
same
of it.
thing. You know, you would run up and show him a wheel, even if you go, I'm probably not going to pass him, but let me make sure he knows I'm right here.
Nobody likes the wheel, dude.
No one likes the wheel.
Nobody wants to see the wheel.
No. So-
But I also understand why Jeremy probably was a bit pissed off about it. I mean, you get hit from behind and go down. You're like, what the hell, man?
I'm
Yeah.
not overly like I don't dislike Ferrandis, but I don't think I just looked like it was kind of benign. It's just like, oh, it was a little bit of a mistake. It didn't look so bad.
I don't think so either. And you know, like when if we're going all the way back, I know we rehashed this a lot on Carmichael's show, but the Anaheim incident, it wasn't even just the one move with Craig. It was like there was multiple things throughout that race that he did that I'm like,
Yeah.
and they were sort of adding up, right? So I think
But
though
we
that
could say the
he's
same thing about Bosch sometimes.
Totally.
You know,
And
you
I
could say, oh, you know, he's a little ambitious at times.
I think when you start to look at Ferrandis's, because I try to look at the whole body of work of his whole career, right? And he had a couple of questionable things in Europe where he put his foot out to kick a guy on a start. Like I think that he just wants it. I mean, as I've watched more and more races and seen him, this guy wants to win.
Well, plus, you
bad.
see the guy that has more points than you in front of you. He definitely wants to get in front of that guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't think he rides with any ill will. I've said that before. I don't think he's out to take people out. I think the way he rides is it's just, like you said, he wants it, he's driven, he's focused, and if he sees Jeremy Martin, he knows he has to get around him. But it also, I think, was one of the reasons why he crashed, was he was trying to pass Martin coming out of that turn on the opening lap, and you see it, he's next to him, and he just grabs a handful to like beat him to the next turn, and he just helicopters
He's
himself.
lucky he didn't get hurt in that.
He's
that
really
was a pretty
lucky
big
on that
one.
one.
Yeah.
I'm actually a Jeremy Martin fan. I mean, I like the way Ferrandis wants it, but it's like I still looked at that. And I'm like, oh, that was totally benign. It was like,
Yeah. I'm glad we all.
I think.
the same thing.
Well, I think another thing that doesn't help Ferrandis much is I think people can take him the wrong way from his interviews. I think because of the language barrier, sometimes he says things, and it may come across as arrogant. You know, someone like Cincerello is always like, "Oh, I'm just so happy to be here. These guys are all so talented." Blah blah blah. Whereas I saw with Ferrandis, they said, "Man, you went from 40th to 3rd. Like you made it look easy. Was it easy?" And he's like, "Yeah." And some people are like, "Oh, he's cocky," and I'm like, "Yeah, but if you go watch it, he's not lying."
Well, and
he
that's-
doesn't know how to say, "Oh no, it's not easy. I worked really hard." Then he was just saying, "I was just doing my thing coming through." So his interviews
guys like
sometimes
that
don't do him any
guys
favors.
like that through history. Bob Hanna would say that all the time. It's like, yeah, I whooped these guys.
Here's the thing about that, though, and maybe this is something Jimmy needs to button. His agent needs to step in and sort of work with him a little bit on. But look who his coach is. David Villeman
GG.
talked that same way.
Yeah.
Like it's just no bullshit. It's
Yeah.
like, no, this is the way it. No, it wasn't that hard. I came
Yeah.
up and, you know what I mean. DV's probably not coaching him on. Well, you're going to want to say it like this or you're going to alienate American fans. You know,
He also said something in that same interview where he wasn't happy that he got third. He was upset that he didn't win. So it's like he's not even thinking about third. He's thinking he didn't get first.
Yeah.
And he had this. Well, you could say he should have won, but nothing's ever given to you in racing. But when you're that much better than everyone else, and someone goes, "Man, that was a great ride for third," in the back of your head, you're like, "Yeah, but that's not where we should have won that one."
Right.
So nothing's going to feel that good.
What about in the 450 class? I think the biggest head scratcher has been the lack of Eli Tomac. He kind of showed up for a second, and then, as our buddy Debo would say, we had Elito Mac out there doing some work and some bikes blowing up. What about the
Oh my
DNFs
gosh!
at
Who would
Loretta's?
ever have thought that was coming?
I don't remember that happening since like the first year of four strokes.
This shows you how hard he is on clutches.
Well, that was the thing I was curious too, is imagine in that position, if you're with Cowie or on one side of the fence or the other, as Tomac, you're probably going, "Hey, have you guys sorted out the problem?" And if you're Cowie, you might be going, "What problem? No one else is having an issue."
Lay off the clutch.
So I don't know what's happening behind closed doors, but I'm sure there might be. I'm sure there's a little bit of tension in I think with Adam, the new golden child. Eli is expected to win. Things have gone maybe how Cowie may have thought a little bit. You know, Adam will improve. Maybe Eli just being a little bit off, but it just seems like something is not 100%. And I also, you know, and then maybe we can ask Chad a little bit. I think he was someone that was saying the same thing. The season's been pushed so long, and everyone just keeps riding and training. And you watch these guys, like I watched after Ironman when Eli holds off Barsha. Eli, in 115-degree weather, comes off, and he looks like he catches his breath pretty quickly. He's sweating a little bit, but he never looks smoked. It wasn't even that hot in Ironman. I mean, it was mild. It was almost like fall weather. And you watch him afterwards. He's sitting on the hay bale, and you just, it almost looks to me like that's someone that's burning out. Like these guys have just been going.
He overtrained or trained too long, and they've passed their window.
Well, think about it. Not that they trained too long. The circumstances have led to it. So
that's what I mean. I don't mean that.
Think about it. This is the off season right now.
Yeah.
And these guys are still full bore. And even Osborne alluded to the fact that, yeah, we've cut back at Baker Factory, you know, from 3 days of riding a week to 2 days.
And I know we're a long way away, and how is this going to bleed over into Supercross?
It definitely is going to, because the tough part was we didn't know. Was there going to be a national series?
Yeah.
Do you take some time off right now?
No one
When's
could.
it going to start?
Well, think about it. It was
We didn't have those answers early on,
Supercross
so
was
they
pushed
had
back.
to keep riding.
Yeah.
Supercross was pushed back, so it was like, all right, Supercross, okay, we'll keep riding, we'll keep training, keep riding. All right, the schedule's coming, okay, we'll keep riding, keep training. Then everyone went up to altitude, rode their asses off for, what was it, a little over a month straight.
6 weeks, I think.
Then it's everyone disappear to your home ground and totally change your mindset, change everything. We're doing motos, no break, and just moto. Oh, season's been pushed to June. Okay, no worries. Moto, no, we're going to start in July. Oh, wait, no, middle of August.
Yeah. Do you know who might look like the smartest man come January is Ken Roxon?
That's a great point.
I mean, I don't know what's going on with Eli. Maybe some of it is burnout. He just had a kid.
He doesn't look like he's just full of energy.
I heard
like
when you have a baby, you lose 2 seconds a lap or something.
Well, that's old school.
I know,
a
I'm
lot
just
of people
kidding.
have kids now,
I'm kidding.
but certainly that's a distraction, right? Like that's a huge thing in your life where normally you're just focused on one thing, and now you're going, wow, this is
Well, and no
it's an
joke, is he
incredible
getting
moment.
the same amount of rest and things? Because I think you guys.
If anyone's
can remember,
ever had a baby, you
it's
know,
terrible. Yeah.
So I honestly think that's playing
in order
into
to make
it.
the baby, there was a lack of rest.
Yeah.
Well, he knocked out that 40-minute moto and just probably went right to sleep.
Yeah.
But
The nutritious bar.
I do. Yeah, he had a little.
Didn't even have to sit on the
protein
hay
shake.
bale and catch his breath.
He had a recovery shake and went to bed.
I wonder if he gives a podium speech when he's done. I'll have to hit Eli up about that.
Yeah.
But I do think that there's something to that. It could certainly be the pressure of that Supercross championship. He wanted that so badly. I think he put a lot of pressure on himself to stay sharp to the very end.
Yeah.
No breaks, no resting. You know what I mean? He stayed sharp, and then to come out of that and go, okay, I finally got this thing. I don't even get to catch my breath. I've got a baby coming or just had come or whatever, and now I got to go do nationals. I just think maybe the focus and fire, like you're saying, is not quite there.
Well, that definitely could be an option. I think with Eli, and here's the thing, riders will always say, yeah, I'm still fully committed, I'm focused. You have to read through that sometimes. Are they just saying it, or can you physically see that? And I don't think he's not trying or anything like that. I genuinely do think that Eli, the way he rides is the way he lives and trains, just as hard as you can a lot of the time. And maybe this is one of those times where theoretically not pacing himself through the season has led, because whenever he has those incredible rides, he looks like he's got the strength and power to go through any of the rough stuff, no problem. And it just looks like at the moment almost like it's not quite there. And they've had this weekend off. I'm going to be curious to see how if that made any difference. Maybe he went home and just said, what, I need a week off and just go out in the wilderness and do my thing.
I always think that it's an interesting concept. Like Rhino always says this. I don't know if you've heard him say this. Is the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And I kind of go, is that true? And I try to think about how I approach things. And maybe there's some truth to it, right? Like the way you do anything is the way you do everything. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I with Rhino, I can never tell if he's a genius or he's a lunatic or somewhere in between. But
he walks that line for sure.
He definitely dances across it. But there might be something to that. Maybe you're right. Eli's always just full throttle, right? Mash it down, and so maybe it's caught up.
There is no real finesse there. So, like any human being, you can only push so hard for so long.
How much off season? Like when you finish the nationals normally, a racer, what do they do? Do they go into a rest for a month?
Personally,
how does that work?
I don't think there's a simple strategy. I think for me over the years it was maybe let an injury recover. Maybe it was a little quick fix surgery, or maybe you felt good and you switched teams and went straight into it. If I didn't feel like I needed a break, to me, I always tried to not lose any base. Maybe take a week off or 10 days just to really just recharge and then start building back up again. But I was one that didn't like to go, I'm going to just step away for a while and then start all over again.
You take a month off? I mean, you're a piece of shit when you come back. You lose so much.
You can't go to the test track and test properly. Like you go there and they're like, how's the bike feel? Like, well,
that was after 2 laps.
The whoops are pretty big.
But is there years that you felt it was easier to continue and other years where you're like, is that all mental? Is that physical? How does that?
It's a bit of everything.
Yeah. So that's the thing is like, is he mentally just, forget about physically, is he just burnt out mentally? I mean, he accomplished,
else.
It's like he just took a giant breath by winning that Supercross championship. And what is his mindset after that? He's accomplished every goal possible.
Well, if you go look at everyone that's in the last few years won the Supercross, they've just gone and struggled in outdoors. Almost like it takes just that much out of you that it's just so hard to... Ferrandis said the same thing last year, that he'd worked so hard for Supercross, it took him a while to get going. But because you go look at the season, Cianciarulo dominated the first half, and then Ferrandis sort of dominated the second half, but it wasn't enough. And I don't know. I just think the problem with Eli, too, is because we hold him to such high standards, we're here talking like the guy's falling apart. But,
I know. He's still winning races.
He's still a podium contender every weekend. So
yeah, but normally you'd see him in fourth or something, especially in the Nationals, and by the end of the race, he's charged back to first.
Okay, so here's another thing, though. No one's really talking about everyone else picking up the pace.
I mean, Barsha looks amazing.
Bosch is riding as good as I've ever seen him.
He looks amazing.
Osborne's riding the best he's ever ridden.
He looks amazing.
Cincerello's riding the best he's ever ridden.
He looks great, yeah.
Anderson
Marvin looks good at times. So he smoked him that first moto.
And Marv, he's also riding well. So I think factor all that together, these guys are going really fast as well. So maybe Eli doesn't quite have that separation that he had in the past. I think in years past he was able to find another gear. Also, the tracks look a little bit different. We've only been at 3 different tracks for 5 rounds. 2 tracks that people have never raced as pros on big bikes. And then Redbud was just a little bit different between the weather and the time of year and the rain. And I don't know how to explain it, but it was just like this is not normally how it is. So when things are a little bit different, maybe that takes his advantage away. You know, if the braking bumps aren't as big as usual, or it's more stutter. If you watch the racing, you see the bikes look more nervous rather than hitting the big stuff. So maybe that's not a specialty. You know, maybe it took away his advantage. I don't know. I think there's a lot of little things that you could factor in, but there's still enough racing to be done that if he can flick that switch again, it's going to be fun.
But you can't count him out. There's no doubt about that.
What do you see happening if you had to, just between the nuances you've seen, kind of sitting there watching?
If he's not burnt out, I think maybe he can come back from this weekend off. You think about it, it was pretty chaotic. You had mud in Tennessee, and then another mudder, and then his bike broke, and then Ironman he won, and then Redbud was a little unorthodox. Maybe we get back to a little more, because think about it, you got 4 rounds in 4 different parts of the country. You've got Millville, Minnesota. Everyone knows that track, pretty cool up there. Then you go down to Florida. Not a huge difference in track, but going to be different in weather and humidity, and
that could
other
crush
factors.
some people if the heat's
Exactly, because
That has crushed some people.
it's still going to be September, and Florida September is still brutal. Then you go from there, we go to Colorado, where we could be in a blizzard up at altitude, and then you come down to Pala. So, I mean, that's quite a variety of tracks in 4 weeks.
The nice thing about, though, these last 4 tracks are that they're tracks that they've been to before, and it's going to be the most basically familiar type of racing out of everything so far.
With that said, if you see some more familiarity, how you say that, tongue twisted, maybe you see those results coming back where Eli is just a little bit stronger than the other guys.
Let me ask you this. 2 questions. Will there be an asterisk next to these championships?
I don't think there should be.
I don't think there should be either.
I think
They raced it, and it is what it is.
To me, that's not fair on the athletes or the
agree.
riders. It's not their fault. No one caused this. Everyone made the most of it. And you know what? My thing is, you got to learn to adjust. And I said it before the season started, even for outdoors. It's who can, if you're really, really a routine guy, 2020 really fucked you over.
Yeah.
Like, if you want everything by the book, it wasn't good.
Yeah,
but if
you
you're
wanted-
someone
if you
that could
wanted-
just go by the seat of their pants and make adjustments on the fly and be confident with their decisions, I think those are the ones that help them. And I think someone who I thought might be good at that and is proving it is Osborne.
Yeah,
I
he's
think because
amazing.
he's been to Europe, he's been used to that disruptive routine, if it makes sense. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's doing better than most under these situations.
I'm changing my mind. There should be an asterisk that under these terrible circumstances, these guys still raced and won a championship.
That's really interesting you say that, because it's almost like you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yep.
And going to Europe, being an American and going to Europe, boy,
Traveling around the world,
nothing
living
will
in a
make
motorhome.
Yeah.
Go here, go there. Eli likes to go home, train
Yeah.
at his place on his time. I think he's a very routine guy and likes it that way. Throw this all in. Oh, we're going to Washougal. No, we're not going to Washougal. We're going to race here again. Okay, we're going to do a double header there. Okay. Some people, it just doesn't work as well for them.
And then last question. Any rookies stand out to you?
Well, there's always, I would obviously say Sexton and Cincerello, as much as we might not want to consider them rookies, they are technically
still are,
rookies
yeah.
in the 450 class. I would say with Sexton, he was one of those guys, I thought he could do very well, but you weren't sure, and he did, so I was like, okay. And then with Adam, I didn't know if maybe the pressure and that feeling like I've got to go up and perform might hurt him a little bit. Supercross, obviously, he showed pace, had a few crashes, but you can see him starting to put it together. So I think that's been fun to watch for him. And then I'm trying to think of the 250 class.
He got the shaft on his win, right? Because he was going to go 1-1, and then he tangled to the lapper. Adam.
Yeah. But I'm glad it didn't cost him the overall. I would have felt bad for him.
Who's the star kid who got the whole shot and
Ty
Masterpool?
Yeah,
that was pretty, kind of choked me up when I heard what that was about. I was like, oh.
Well,
Yeah.
now that you mention it, he was one that's because it was like, oh, Ty Masterpool's back, cool. And then all of a sudden, whole shot leading, you're like, well, that's an entrance. Definitely in the 250, him. And then the Rock River kid, Gonzalez. He's just been like sneaking in these top 10s on a satellite team, and he came in with no hype. Well, not much hype. So I've been watching. I'm like, man, kid keeps putting in good results.
Cool. Well, anxious to see how that season shapes up. The other thing I wanted to touch on is silly season, and there's been a lot of drama already. Dylan Ferrandis, obviously one of the big signings, and he was really adamant that he didn't want to go to Yamaha. For whatever reason, I think a lot of the issues they've had on that race team are personnel related, or were, and you've even heard that from Chad talking to, he doesn't say any names, but if you're reading between the lines, you could sort of get that vibe from him and what he said in the first couple of episodes. But going into 2021, Star Racing is going to take over Yamaha's 450 effort. So they will have 2 trucks, one's 250, one's 450. Aaron Plessinger has a spot there, and it looks like Dylan Ferrandis is going to wind up there. However, it didn't look that way to start out with. He was looking around. He was, the TLD Gas team was actually talking to several different people early on, including Osborne, including Moose Can. Came close on both of those deals, and just different issues mixed it up. They had Ferrandis done, and kind of last minute that fell apart. So anyway, it's been a weird deal the way that's all happened. What else do you see playing out if you got Plessinger and Barsha? Barsha was the other guy who was looking at TLD. That was very, very close to being done. Yamaha exercised their first right of refusal. So
also, I think it's one of those situations that Barsha has a ton of loyalty towards Alpine Stars, because even when he didn't have a ride, they still continue to support him. And you can respect that. You know, if you've been a TLD guy and you're going to lose that deal and you've been there your whole life, there's some, there's always going to be some emotion involved. And I think, when you come to TLD, the team, you got to wear the gear. So, Marv's been a lifer at Thor, and you got Barsha, who's been almost a lifer with Alpine Stars. So there's always those, we talk about behind the scenes stuff where it's like everyone's weighing up their options, but it looked like Barsha was going to go to the gas, and then the latest rumor is that he will be staying at Yamaha. So it sounds like they're going to have a 3-man team, which I think, hey, they were talking about, is Yamaha going to be around? Now you got 3 riders instead of 2. So I think that's a win for the sport if that happens. But that obviously will free up a spot with gas.
Chad made mention that Yamaha needs to adjust some of their management. Do you think that
they already have?
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
There's a lot of details to that. Maybe Chad will talk more about it today. But
when I walked past the Yamaha rig at the last race, I was like, I know people had masks on, but I'm like, there's a lot of people I don't recognize.
Your buddy's gone, right? Dino Dan's gone.
Yeah, I actually haven't had a chance to talk to him about it. I hate calling someone like, what happened? Like being one of those people. So we'll end up going to dinner, and I don't know the details, and I don't want to speculate if I don't know.
I'm not speculating either.
They've just made some changes and adjustments, and I think maybe Yamaha thinks the best route for them is to support a good team like Star that have shown, hey, together we work well. A lot of times when you have in-house factories, in my opinion, there's too much paperwork, insurance, HR. There's so many things that get in the way of preventing a race team from... Race teams need to be ran by the seat of the pants. All right, that's not working. We're going to do this. We'll have a meeting.
Too much corporate structure.
They have to be able to change directions quickly, and in a massive corporation like Yamaha or Honda, any of them, you can't. It's a Titanic. That thing doesn't turn around in a hurry. Yeah. So by going to Star, and I thought this years ago, back when they went to L&M and Chaparral, I thought, that's the direction we're all going. And I thought that was better, because Yamaha could say, okay, here's the money we spent on our race team here. Now we can support Rock River and Star.
The problem too was Yamaha was trying to do their thing while the other teams were trying to do their thing, and I think that creates tension and issues. It's almost better off to have someone say, okay, these are the guidelines you just need to follow. Besides that, we'll work on everything else, and maybe have a liaison. But I think it'll be a good move for Yamaha. I think it'll probably save them some money, as well as I think it'll end up better results, because they'll be able to move quicker and make guys happier.
I think that too. Now, what do you think's happening at Cowie? It looks like same thing staying with Eli and AC.
I think that team's pretty much done. I'd be curious with KTM, because obviously with Marv, is he riding for his ride at the moment? He's putting in performances that show that he probably deserves it. I just don't know if maybe it's Roger or whoever, KTM, if they're like, okay, it's been like 10 years now, and, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Are they beginning to think Marvin won't win? Not losing hope, but just thinking, we want, if we think Cooper can win, you don't want to have a teammate where you think, well, some teams are happy to go, okay, he's our number one guy, that's our number two guy, that's what we can afford. But Marv wants to be a number one guy.
He has a big fan base, too, though, bigger than people think. A lot of people like Marv.
I think Marv and Cooper is a great combo because I think that if either one of them went out with an injury, you could lean on either one of them, and they're both title contenders.
I think Marv stays there, but then again,
okay.
Here's
What
the
about?
thing, but you got gas, and let's be honest, that's all under the same umbrella. So what if they want to go? You know what? For us, this works better. You go there. You go
Hey, what
there,
do? Do they build another building next to the other two buildings? How does that work? gas building next to the
I don't know what they're going to do. They own that pretty much that whole entire city block.
that block, yeah, and across the street too, and where they have that maintenance area or the
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. And so then Rockstar,
Well, they got to sell some bikes.
Rockstar
before they start
Husky.
getting carried
What do you
away.
think will happen there? Anderson and Osborne stay.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to spend the money for a 3-man team again.
Well, Dean said he resigned, right? So he's in.
I think so, yeah.
So, and I know Osborne stayed because he was another one talking to TLD, and at the end of the day, Rockstar wouldn't let him out.
Yeah.
Rockstar, the energy drink. So those two are staying. Shoot, maybe you do see Anderson come over to
That's a good team, though. The three of those guys are a good team.
Great team.
Yeah.
Well, of course. I'm just saying I don't know.
It's a lot of money.
If that's, yeah.
With that,
Is it
especially
like
with Osborne stepping
no,
up.
listen,
Now his
I
value
get it,
went up to
but
here.
yeah, are they paying Dean a ton of money? I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, but still.
It's the cost of going
I was gonna say,
racing.
let's just
I
say
get you.
it's a few $100,000. Then just the cost of bikes, parts, mechanic, travel, and all that's another $500,000. In that. So to have a rider is $1 million.
Yeah.
To give him a decent salary.
Every
and the
time, though,
cost.
you add a rider, you amortize that cost over those three riders. I mean, it doesn't add. When you add another rider, you're not adding another $1 million. You're only maybe adding a 3/4 of that, half of that.
No,
No,
you're
because you
adding
still
$1 million.
got travel, you still got parts, you
Mechanic.
still got mechanic.
Yeah.
But
but the
that
truck's
all
still
costs
going to the
money.
race, and
Yeah, but now in the truck there needs to be more food, more
Yeah.
pressure washer, more storage, more this. More
it's
parts.
probably not a 1-for-1. You're right, but
No. But I'm
it's
saying
a
to add a
significant
rider,
cost.
a third rider like of his caliber, you can basically say we got to add $1 million
it's
to
$1
the
million
budget.
to have a rider on a
To
team.
have one rider is probably $2 million because of the
Right.
truck and everything,
Right.
and the driver and all that. But after that, you're still looking at big bucks.
So to give you some perspective, when I managed Troy's team in 09 and 10, even with Ben Townley, Will Hahn, Cole Seeley, our budget was under $900,000 for the whole year.
That's pretty good.
Wow. So, but what's happening to what is it? The Rocky Mountain ATV MC team?
I don't know. There again, I've heard some rumors. I heard some people potentially owed money. I don't know if that team will be around for sure. I think another one that could be that's relying on sponsors and things to come together, I think, is JGR as well. If they don't get enough of what they need, I don't think that team will be around. So hopefully Suzuki's able to continue to help them. They've had a little bit of success in the outdoors, and I'm hoping that's going to just help the situation.
Well, Suzuki's not paying Carmichael anymore.
If you start looking at the trends of Suzuki over the past decade, it's not good. Yeah, it's just this.
Circle in the drain.
Yeah.
But
Doesn't mean now.
It
doesn't mean anything. If a new boss comes in who's passionate about racing, he could fire it all back up.
Mm-hmm.
But if they keep going the direction they're going,
But here's the thing.
It's a shame.
This is what I try to tell people. Not everyone can be the premier brand. Not everyone can have the latest, greatest, or all the championships or everything. I think Suzuki's strategy is, if we don't spend a shit ton of money on racing and development and all that, we can still sell good bikes at a great price.
Yeah.
Because they're just undercutting everyone on price. So if someone says to me, I'm a weekend warrior, well, why is that bike so much cheaper? I'm like, it doesn't have electric start, but otherwise you should be fine. If you feel like kicking it, buy it.
yeah. I've had a lot of people tell me that I can buy one of these. I found one for $4,900. Has 6 hours on it. I'm like,
What do you do?
and he's like, I just ride for fun with my kid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well,
Great bike.
It's a great bike.
You know, KTM, they're like ready to race. That's their slogan. It's
also
like, that's your
nearly
race bike.
$11,000
For sure.
Yeah.
You know, and then you got the other Japanese brands that, you know, Yamaha likes. They pride themselves on their bikes lasting forever, which they do. Kawai's been a little more innovative, a little more, you know, like the Team Green stuff. Like if you buy a Kawi, you know, a lot of times you get like these bonus bucks, and then like the you know, maybe like a swag bag with like Team Green stuff and a stand and a mat to make that guy feel like he's a part of a, you know, a team. You're like Team Green, you know, I'm part of the Kawi program. So everyone has their little thing, and I think Suzuki's just like, well, we'll just give you a good bike at a good price.
I wish I could have a say over there. If those
For
guys
sure.
would turn back on their two-strokes and be
Great two-strokes.
be
They had
affordable
great
four-stroke bikes, and here's some entry-level two-strokes, and they're great.
They have some great bikes.
But just retool the same motors, the same bikes they used to build, or throw them in an aluminum frame if that's cheaper. You're right. That could be a great way to go. Did you see the new, what's it called, a Xantic?
Yeah.
Am I saying it right?
I don't know, but I saw it.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's a
I don't
company
know.
that
I know,
works
I saw
in
it.
Italy, I
Yeah,
believe,
yeah.
works with Yamaha,
yeah.
and it is basically a Yamaha
Yep.
Fantic.
Fantic. It's
I've
a
seen
Fantic.
those pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's guys racing them in the
Yeah.
125 class over in Europe,
Okay,
but it's a
now-
Yamaha.
Yeah.
You know, other than I think the plastic's different, and they do it. It's sold with a pipe and a little bit of motor work.
Yeah. I got a question for GL. I see your brother-in-law's brother riding a lot now.
Yeah.
What have you heard about that?
There's some rumors circling there too. I think Ryan misses racing. So
I mean,
There might be a small
how does he
chance
get?
he
How does he
lines
get a
up at
Honda?
Anaheim.
Does he call up and say, "Hey, can you send me out a?" I mean, the bike looked pretty good.
I'm pretty sure he can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, he is Ryan Dungey, so I'm sure if he asks for a nice bike, they go, send me your address. It's
Yeah.
on its way. Why wouldn't you?
No, I agree. I'm just.
And I don't try to ask too many questions because you got family and nothing worse than feel like you're interviewing someone at Thanksgiving or whatever. So, but I think with Ryan, after he went and did the Geico Honda dealing, even though that didn't pan out, I think that it may have closed the door at KTM. I'm kind of speculating, but I think
Maybe soured
there
some-
might be a little bit of sour grapes there. So I think, you close one door, the other one sort of opens. And
I mean, I haven't seen him
We
too
got-
much,
we
but
got a
he
new-
looks good on that bike.
We got a new Mike LaRocco situation on our
Yeah,
hands. He's
yeah.
going to show up with some outside sponsor, Target or something else.
He's already got that.
yeah, I think it's going to come down to if it makes sense. I think he's.
I know that I'm asking a dumb question. Could he come back and be competitive?
I think so. I don't think he was one of those guys that. I mean, Ryan's. I think because he's trained his whole life, he is just tuned to be an athlete. He still works out. He still trains. He likes to do that kind of stuff. He's just. When I was done racing, I was like, get rid of the bicycles, get rid of the treadmill, cancel the gym membership. I was like, I'm done with it.
GL cut the workout room off the end of his house.
Yeah. No, it became the video game room.
KrispyKreme.com. I'm
Yeah,
now on
yeah.
the Donut of the Month Club.
Exactly. So,
I've always been on that program. so.
Whereas someone like him, I think he just kept going, and we talked about it before and it may seem like a dig at Alden, but I think with the way he did things, riders were just maybe getting burned out sooner and not having as much fun as maybe they normally would. And because I said to Ryan, "You sure you're not going to regret?" No, 100% confident in my decision. Fast forward a little bit,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, it's like.
Well, also, what is he doing? Like, does he have what? Is he?
He's trying. I mean, he even started his own coffee company and
Yeah.
things like that. And I think it's one of those. Sometimes when you stop racing, you don't really know what gets you. Like what makes you tick.
Well,
it took me a while.
We've seen this on this show how many times. Guys are still struggling to figure out what to do next.
Who are they?
So I
Yeah.
think he's in that mode still, and folks close to him even said that. He's searching, he's struggling.
He's young. I mean, what is he? 28? Is he
I
29?
forget his exact age now, but yeah.
Well, listen, I'm not going to complain if he comes back.
Me
Cool
either.
for the sport. I just something inside me goes, "Oh, I wouldn't do that, man." Like I just wouldn't do that. I don't know. You walked away so clean. He didn't have
Yeah.
any big injuries.
No.
And it's just such
Well, he did break his neck.
Well, he didn't need surgery. I think it was just a wing. I don't know. I don't know the exact details, but scary. But he rode the rest of the moto. I mean, wasn't that bad.
Pussy.
No, I don't mean to.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
No.
He walked away very clean.
It can sound bad. Oh, he broke his neck. Oh, really? Oh, well, yeah. It was a little fracture on the side.
Yeah, the spinous process. It's just little nubs that stick out. It doesn't.
You don't need that nub.
It doesn't affect the structural integrity of your spinal cord.
Yeah, but you could get your atlas not aligned properly with that.
Oh, get out of here, chiropractor. All right, what else? So Honda, Kenny and Chase. I don't think any changes there.
Yeah, and then maybe Ryan is a sort of potentially a Supercross.
Where's Brayton go?
Well, that's going to be interesting. Maybe Penrite.
Back to
maybe.
Yeah,
Smart Top.
I heard that there might be there'll probably be some help from one of those Honda teams.
And
I think Penrite's going to probably do something over here,
something bigger
for the 450 guys. And if not, I think you're right. Maybe Motor Concepts. I think they have a pretty good relationship now with Honda, and Honda would definitely want to have Brayton there if they couldn't have him on the factory team.
I've heard Mookie had sort of a falling out with Smart Top. Is not coming back there. Have you heard anything about that?
I have not. I haven't heard anything. In fact, I just was assuming that he was going to be coming back, but that's
I did too. He's been riding great this year. I don't know why. I don't know what would have happened, but anyway. All right. Well, we'll see what happens.
Else? We were talking Husky, KTM, Yamaha,
yeah, we kind of gone through most of them.
And what about Gas? We still don't know who's going to be there.
We don't know. They have Pierce Brown signed for sure.
Yeah, 250.
But I'm anxious to see what are they going to do with Max Voland? Is he starting? Is he going to wait till Nationals? I haven't heard anything there, and I haven't heard about a 450 guy. So
the good thing is there are 450 guys available. I mean, even like like Brock Tickle, I think he's done a great job at filling in. He has nothing for next year, at the moment at least. I'm sure if he keeps up these results, something will come. But if you're losing, let's just say you lose JGR, Rocky Mountain,
Baggett would be a good pickup.
All of a sudden, yeah.
He's used to the bike.
And if that team goes away, did Benny Bloss get hurt again?
Yeah, he hurt his ankle.
Yeah, I saw him limping off.
But I think, I don't think it's anything too serious. I think it's just like a good sprain, and it's bruised and swollen, but I think he'll be okay for the next round.
And one more thing we wanted to touch on, if you've been following the GPs, it's been some great racing. This past weekend was a bit of a shake-up. Hurlings went down, hurt his shoulder, hurt his neck and back a little bit. It sounded like he had sort of a stinger and lost some feeling, but all that's come back. But he's definitely out.
I had that once. It's scary. I had a stinger before where I lost feeling, and I was like, worst nightmare coming true. And then, yeah, it was a stinger, but it'll get your attention, that's for sure.
Hell yeah. So,
but man, how about Coyote?
I love to see it. I mean, if I'm pulling for a guy over there, nothing against any of the other guys, but just it's sort of like Reed was here, kind of. He's just been around so long. He's just a workhorse. He gets it done. This will be 10 titles if he wins this?
That would be amazing.
I'm just rooting for him just for that. I would love to see that.
Those guys are hauling ass at the
moment. They are so fast.
The intensity level.
The racing is good too.
Yeah.
Well, so you just said it right there. I think that's been the biggest change I've seen in the GPs. Those guys used to come over and they'd always say, man, the intensity is so gnarly here. Yeah. I'm not used to it. And I think they've taken and that they've adapted to that. And now, instead of just pacing it and maybe making a push right at the end, they're just like us.
Laps, it's just all over the place.
All in. And so it's made it really great racing, and those guys have stepped up the game.
It's been fun to watch.
So anyway,
I would have said it would have been great to see how Donations goes, but that won't. We'll have to put that off for another year.
Yeah. Anyway, wish the best to Jeffrey Hurlings. Hope he heals up and nothing major there. Sounds like they're just waiting on some shoulder MRIs, and it's the neck back thing is good. Just was a sort of a hit, some hematoma, some swelling. But wish him the best of luck in his healing, and quietly rooting for Tony over there. So it'll be fun to watch the rest of that. With that. Couple of things. Get over to whiskeythrottleshow.com. Check out our new website, which is up and running. You can buy merchandise on there. You can watch all the shows. You can listen to all the shows from there. We've got links to all of our sponsors. If you go to the bottom where it says sponsors, you can click on any one of those links. It takes you right to their website. So check that out. Big thank you to Temecula T-shirt printers for putting together all of our merchandise. Again, you can go to the website and buy through there. You can also go to whiskeythrottlemerch.com, buy everything there. From these T-shirts, there's a whole range of stuff. Our Metzger tee, our factory tees, which come in every color, new hats, all kinds of stuff. We're going to have more stuff coming out first of 2021. And I also want to make a mention to Mad Skills Motocross. We were pushing Mad Skills Motocross 3 really hard. They had a soft release. We're doing some beta testing. They had some things they wanted to fix. So it's still on hold. So hang tight. I had a lot of people saying, well, I'm looking for it. I can't find it. It'll be out soon. We will announce when it does drop. But in the meantime, get on Mad Skills Motocross 2. There's a bunch of competitions going on, and obviously all the races and series that you can get into there. A lot of fun. So thanks to those guys. And we've got Chad Reed ready. So let's jump into our interview for part 3 with Chad Reed. So, Reedy, thanks for joining us again for part 3 here of your series. The first 2 shows have been awesome, and your recollection of details and events has been so good. Part of why it's taken us so long, I think we're going to have 9 hours of Chad Reed here when we're all done, but it's awesome. One of the questions that I want to start with as we start part 3, we kind of left off right at the 2-2 Motorsports creation, so we'll take it from there. But before we had you on, we were talking a little bit about this season and kind of how weird it's been. You know, the motocross season starting late, Supercross ran long, and looking at Eli Tomac and some of these guys that look like they're fatigued, where that is just, you'd never see Eli Tomac fatigued. And so we were talking about what is that about, and Gio was saying, you know, look at how weird it's been. When Supercross got delayed, guys were still riding through that. They couldn't just quit riding.
Yeah.
Then they went up to Elevation up in Utah for 6 weeks. So that's a whole different sort of taxing on your body, racing twice a week. Then you jump right into Nationals, and now we're going way longer than we would normally go. You at least went through all that Supercross stuff. What do you think? Was it harder, you know, doing all that Utah, that 6 weeks there? Did that take more out of you physically?
Yeah, it was such a different schedule too, you know, like it wasn't, I didn't know that it's taxing. It's more the change of schedule and the breakup of your normal, you know, like it's like I think we become so immune to, you know, like most sports that other than NASCAR, no one really races like a schedule like we do, you know? And when you look at the world, Formula One, MotoGP, they're losing their minds on how many events they're having to cram into such a small amount of time. And I laugh at it. I get such a kick out of how just weak they are, you know? I'm like, dude, you're MotoGP and you're Formula One. You don't have to do anything other than go to the gym, flex a little bit, and then jump in a race car or jump on a MotoGP bike, you know, on the weekend. And for us, we become so immune to riding. We do more of our actual sport, you know, at the level that we race at, more than I think any sport ever in the world. Nobody does what we do, you know? And so I think it's challenging in the fact that you race, what were we racing, Sundays and Wednesdays, or I don't even remember what it was, Sundays and Wednesdays, I think. And so you're, you know, not only is it your whole days don't even feel like normal days, you know, like you're kind of like your week starts to feel weird, you know, Sundays feels like Saturday, you know, and all these weird things, you know, Mondays start feeling like Sundays, and, you know, and then vice versa on the Thursdays and Fridays. So, and I think that the repetitiveness of not just going back home, you know, doing your motos, doing what you normally do, having to kind of do that in a different setting, in a different environment, you can't really, you know, like, what was it? It was a longer period from the Wednesday to the Sunday. So then I was racing Sunday, wouldn't ride my motorcycle until I raced on Wednesday, and then I would always ride on the Friday before the Sunday. So, and then that kind of became the rhythm, but it was like that rhythm started feeling normal about the last 2 races. So I think living that experience, I just think it was different. I don't know that it was more taxing. I think that, you know, I'd probably say that being around and understanding my body and things a little bit differently, and obviously the series meant a different meaning to me. It wasn't like I was chasing a championship. I was out there, you know, wrapping up a farewell tour and enjoying the month in Utah with my family. So I wasn't, you know, though I was training hard and doing everything, I wasn't overextending myself,
Yeah.
you know, like I feel like some of those guys were pot committed. They were probably overtraining, doing a lot of altitude stuff, struggling in the altitude. So then trying to compensate, thinking that, you know, more's more and more's better. I just kind of did my racing and then tried to enjoy the rest of the week. Particularly when we narrow it down to Eli, I think it's hard and challenging in a normal circumstances in the fact that we've seen it year after year, whether it be myself or James, RV or Dunge. There's always that hangover period of just winning your first title or winning the Supercross title. And then, you know, it always seems like it's very rare that they just fire right off into the outdoor season. You know, like there's always they've given up. They stayed way more committed to Supercross and getting that first championship, or even just the championship in general. And I think that when they do that, they give up the outdoor testing, they give up the break-in schedule and that one weekend off. And it's like, so you're so invested in trying to win a championship. Where I think Eli, that's normal. But what I think when you take into consideration, like what you know, backing up in the conversation, like when I left off in March, I sold all my motorcycles because I was told at the very top of Feld Motorsport, they told us we ain't going racing until probably September, October. And at that point, I'm like, okay, well, 2021 bikes will be out. Let's just sell the bikes, whatever. I sold all my motorcycles. I remember
you selling them online.
You know, like we didn't even have motorcycles. Like everyone was like, oh, you switched to KTM. And it's like, it wasn't really like a planned, hey, I'm done with Honda, I want to switch and ride to KTM. It was kind of like, the KTM to me is the best motorcycle to just go ride and have fun on. And so therefore I was planning on riding the summer out on a KTM and seeing what happens. And it just so happened that like basically within that month and a half period, we started hearing the talk of we might go racing. Initially we were going to go racing in Phoenix. Yeah. And then it kind of got pushed back probably about a month from what we were really planning on or originally planning on. And then we ended up in Utah, you know. So I think that those guys just basically switched over to outdoors because initially that was going to be the plan. We were going to roll right into outdoors. You know, the world was in this pandemic bullshit, but everyone was kind of still just like motocross is going to just pick up and we're just going to go racing. And then as we seen, one thing led to another. That got delayed, then Supercross was the priority again. And so I think that you just see guys that have been so invested in training and riding on a very weird repetitive on this and then over to Supercross, back to motocross. And you can see it. They all look smoked to me, to be honest with you. They all look over it. On top of that, all the rules, all the BS in my opinion.
Yeah. Even the mask. It's just enough to piss you off and annoy you, you know?
I won't even go watch one. Just because I won't wear a mask. Yeah. I don't know. I did it at Supercross. I was wrapping up something, but for me to go and have fun and wear it at an outdoor event when there's no fans, there's no nothing, at what point do you just go, this is ridiculous?
Wearing a mask outside is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. It's only
pretty dumb too.
It's only beaten in stupidity by people driving in their own car by themselves with their mask on, in my opinion. I go by people and I'm like,
and just special. Like you guys,
what is wrong with you?
I just want to know, like, I always, it's not a conversation.
We don't need to steer into that.
Yeah. This is an hour-long conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I've experienced some amazing things in my life, and then this particular one has been quite entertaining. I'll say one thing and we'll leave it alone, I think. But we were in Yellowstone, and I saw a lady wearing a mask, smoking, and I'm like, at what point, like, I wanted to go up to her and be like, just explain to me. Like, explain to me why are you wearing a mask? Like, what are you scared of? You are sucking down this thing like it's going nothing else. Like, but yet you're scared of a virus that
I almost
may or
think
may not be as bad as they say.
that's maybe why they are scared, because those are the people that feel a little bit guilty, like, oh, it's people with respiratory issues. So, like, I got to take all these.
We should move on. I don't know that this is a conversation. Well,
we don't.
I think the three of us are all on the same page, and there's obviously, and I respect that some people don't have that or share that opinion, and I think it's a lose-lose conversation.
For sure. I will say,
getting back to that, I would just say that those guys look really smoked to me.
Yeah.
And I, like, look who's winning, like we all know that Zach got hurt, and Zach took a quite extended period of time off the bike. And from what I understand, and I don't know details, so I'm only going off of what I've heard, but I believe he was down and out for a while. And sometimes being down out and forced that time off, I think he really got to have time off when nobody did.
Yeah.
And though it was unfortunate, it happened in a period when the world stopped. We seen how strong he was when he came back in Utah, and he's just, carried that momentum into outdoors.
It's almost like it was a blessing.
It's my opinion that he's a stronger outdoor rider than he is a Supercross rider anyway.
I think so.
And so the writing was on the wall, I really think that it was always going to be an uphill battle for those guys to beat Zach this year in the way that it'll play out.
And did you think this is going to carry over? Because really, by the time it finishes, you got to jump right into Supercross testing, assuming Supercross starts.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I don't. I'll be very surprised that we start Supercross in January.
Is that right?
That's my opinion.
Yeah,
and that's not going off of anything that I know. I've had zero conversation with Feld or anybody there, but that's just my opinion on what's, we certainly don't start the first week of January in California.
It's a lot to try and squeeze in what they're going to have a very, very short amount of time.
Yeah, well,
I think it has zero to do with timing, because I don't think that Feld Motorsport gives a flying whatever about the people and their timing and their rest period and what outdoor does and what they do. I think that they think about themselves 100%, as they should. I think it comes down to the way the world is right now, and I don't believe California is having or hosting events with 45,000 fans in January.
Yeah, to get from where we're at today to come on in, Supercross as normal.
Yeah,
I don't see we get that far.
The big difference I see is, your football, baseball, those are huge organizations with tons of money that can subsidize
for a while. They setting a good example right now.
Well, but I think they can afford to not have fans in the stands, whereas I think Felt, being the size that they are better off postponing and waiting till things reopen.
I'm surprised that
and making money.
I'm blown away that outdoor motocross is running.
I am too.
I would have lost a lot of money on motocross happening with no fans. I'm really
they've had
surprised.
Some limited fans in some places, or they've reloaded
limited fans, and obviously they're trying to double dip on the amateur side of things, and that's kind of where they probably cover their cost a lot. But for me, it's crazy that there's that those events are happening without fans, because we all know we're not all stupid on how these things work and whatever, and it's like nobody's in it to just run it and for the good time of it. It's a business at the end of the day, and whether you love it or not, it's at the end of MX Sports is a business, and it has to you got to pay the bills and things like that. And from my understanding, obviously NBC stepped up a lot, so that's probably the big part of it is NBC's making sense of why we're going racing.
Yeah, they did. Got to give credit where credit's due. They did step up and help with even some financial assistance to some of the promoters and that. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I think everyone's taking in the shorts. No one's crushing it, but I think with everyone subsidizing somewhat, they're just able to get by. And of course, it's better to have a series than not have one at all. Then you lose all your sponsors, and everyone wants their money back or whatever. So I think they made the most of it. Washougal was meant to happen. Last second, they had to pull the plug. But a lot of people were like, hey, we're happy to stay here. The trucks are here. The bikes are here. It costs us a lot less than going cross country. So couple
Yeah,
things.
going across. I mean, in the big scheme of things, it definitely made much more sense to do a doubleheader in Loretta's than haul everything over to the other side of the country and then get it all back again to Indiana and things like that. So I think that the way the schedule's shaping up, it makes more sense.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. I want to jump back into your stuff here. Kind of where we left off was started 22 Motorsports, but I've got a lot of people asking me literally a dozen different questions about the lawsuit with L&M. You mentioned as you left that team, things kind of went sideways. What's the status on that lawsuit?
Yeah, I mean it's all said and done at this point. They owed me a lot of money. We were suing each other. It was in litigation, and just like everything, it was kind of one of those things where it really sucked to lose that much money. Because at the end of the day, I won the case but didn't get my money. So then for me, I didn't win.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to pay anything either. And I'm like, okay, that makes zero sense. So in the big scheme of things, the only people that win in that situation are the lawyers. They're the only ones that made.
They always make out.
But I learned a lot. I learned a lot about. I think moving forward after litigation, and I'd never been in litigation. I'd never sat in a room and been drilled, and you see a booklet of 200 plus pages of this stuff that they may or may not want to talk about or may try to dig into, and present, past, things that you've done, whether it be on social, on your emails, text messages, all this kind of stuff. And it's kind of like you get a bit of an understanding of what the real world's like. And so I think from that moment on, I learned a lot. Like I learned that when you say something in a context of saying it, it can be used against you in this way.
For sure.
Because lawyers don't do anything, it's everything's fair game. Some of the things that they would try to use against you, was just so dumb. It was actually that dumb. It was funny. And I just would laugh. And the guys,
don't you feel like one of the main things that they try to do is have everyone question your integrity or who you are?
Come after your character.
He said this once upon a time, and he mentioned that.
I'll pick one thing. One thing in the litigation that was just hilarious to me was I just won a championship 2 weeks prior to in Vegas. Then the first national was in Glen Helen. I showed up to watch the race. Aaron Bates was doing TV at that point. And obviously as the newly crowned Supercross champion and being at the race, it was natural me walking around the pit area that people wanted to, they wanted to know why I wasn't racing. And kind of at that point, there'd been a lot of talk about James going to L&M, me not staying at L&M. So it was kind of what I would call a headline news in our sport. And one of the questions she asked was basically what's going on. And I'm like, I'm not sure at this point. I have no job, haven't signed anything. And in the litigation, it was basically they were basically saying that I was admitting that I wasn't part of L&M. And I'm like, no, that's not how it was, Yeah. And it's but this is what you said. And it wasn't a video. We didn't get to watch the video and actually hear the conversation. It was literally all it had was my words. It was a quote of me saying that I was not, at that point I was unemployed. I hadn't signed a new contract and I was unsure what I was doing. And I just couldn't do anything but laugh because it was just ridiculous and it was funny. And my lawyer ended up going, okay, just let it go, And I'm like, no, it didn't happen like that. You're wrong, And I just kept going back at the lawyer. And at that point it was a game and funny. But yeah, at the end of the day, I learned a lot. I learned that I think adult conversations are far more productive than letting sometimes your emotions and not even my own emotions at that point. I think that at that point you're relying heavily on your agent and your people around you. And when they're invested and their emotions are running high, everything just seems like it spirals out of control. And I think that me picking up the phone and talking to Mike Kraniak, the real team owner at that point, the money guy, I think that him and I could have figured the thing out. I think him and I could have came to an agreement that was far better than him spending money on lawyers, me spending money on lawyers, and at the end of the day, everybody ended up pissed off at each other. So, one of those life lessons, to be honest with you.
Did you and Larry ever bury the hatchet? You and Larry Brooks, or no? You guys still?
I would say that there wasn't a coming together of like Larry and I burying it, but when did I think it was actually when I was at Suzuki with JGR, and I think Larry was
amateur.
Larry was doing the Suzuki thing and I think he still does that. Anyway, I think that we ended up at a signing, or we did something, and normally I would be kind of like avoid the guy, don't talk to him, and I was just like, at this point I just want to move on, like, and we talked, we had a great conversation, like nothing ever happened. I have a lot of respect for Larry. I think he's crazy. But I love, like, a lot of he's crazy. I love.
He's got a lot of passion, which seems like it would fit you.
He's crazy. Shouldn't really be looked at as just crazy because it's just passion sometimes.
Yeah.
I would put him in the Tony Alessi category, in the fact that sometimes you got to love and respect what he does, because the passion is so high.
Yeah.
And I probably come across as crazy or ridiculous in some cases because my passion's that high too in it. And so I actually really like him. I hate what happened to us, and I think it was the wrong thing to do. And I think that you have to be adult, and I think that I had as big of a role in it as he did. It always takes two to tango. And I think that both of us being as passionate as we each are, it was just, we went against each other, and we were just doing this rather than sitting down like adults. And at that point, geez, I'm 20, what am I, 24, 25 years old? You're not really an adult. You're pretty stupid at that point. You're getting paid a ridiculous amount of money. You think you want more always, and you're young and dumb.
If you ever need to raise money, I think we should do a cage match of Rhino, Tony Alessi, and you, and get you guys fired up about something. Those are like the three most passionate guys about it,
That would be fun, actually. Yeah.
All right, we're jumping back into 2-2. We talked a little bit about how that came together, but talk about that first season with them. What was more difficult than you thought? What was easier? What was better? What was worse? I know it's a lot of questions. Just take me through that first season.
What comes to mind is it was all like, it's funny because when you hear certain people's perspective on it, and then my perspective on it as the owner and the one kind of like responsible and the one that's gonna take the biggest hit if it all goes bad, I delegated, like we quickly made decisions, and Bellray was the first company that came in. They committed at a very high level, and I'm like, at this point, this is doable. This is sustainable. It's a big enough paycheck to pay the bills and get the personnel, the semi, all these kinds of things. So once we got that commitment, it was kind of like just boom, 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 boom. Everybody I hired, I felt like had a, Davo. Davo he's just a guy that you give him a laundry list of things, and he is going to get that done. Yeah. And you don't have to hold the dude's hand. You don't have to tell him, hey, did you do this, this, and this? You actually have to tell him, okay, Davo, go easy on this guy. I understand you don't have an answer yet, but don't kill him. Don't yell at him. Don't mother F him. Let's, pump. You almost have to pump his brakes a little bit. And I love Davo. Like, if I started a team and it made sense, which it just doesn't at this point in my life and where I live and whatever, but like, I would hire him. Like, why he doesn't have a job in the industry I would put him in that category of that. You want to have a fight with me, Rhino, Tony Alessi, and Larry Brooks, I'd put Davo in there. Because the guy just has passion. Yeah. He loves the sport. He loves his job and being delegated and living up to that part of it. And then you add in, like, there was Lars. Who was on? Dougie Fresh was there. I got him from Suzuki. So it was just kind of like a group of people that I felt. It's always funny to me, like Lars was just basically a practice bike or a test guy that would basically just drive the Tex, the Honda Boxman around. I went and did a test prior to going to Australia. In typical Honda, you have to go through all these things, and had to have Lars out there. He had to let me into the track to let me ride the track. I don't remember. Maybe he loaned me a stock bike, and then Bones came with some suspension, and we basically did some suspension testing. And anyway, I seen something in Lars. I seen that he was motivated at that point. Seen that he was more than just a practice bike guy and a box van driver. So yeah, he was my first choice of mechanics. And so we just built this, group of people that were just go-getters. In every individual I felt that I hired could do and handle their said position in the team, and that just allowed me to go get a new trainer. I moved to Santa Barbara. I was living there for 3 months, and I just went full steam ahead on going all in on it. And so it was a rough start. I shouldn't say it was a rough start. I think I was 5th or 6th at the first race. But I didn't really finish where I wanted to. But yeah, week after week we learned. Get was really new back then. Fuel injection was quite new, so we were learning a lot about ignition, making the bike run the way it needed to run, suspension settings, all those things that you kind of get in a window at testing and you get all happy, and then you go racing and there's always something that shows up, and you're like, we were having this really weird situation where the bike it wouldn't bog, but it would just give it a little hiccup and it would scare the crap out of me. And that was kind of early generation when we started looking at data and everything like that. So then we were spending long nights at Mitch's dyno and trying to get it to replicate. Of course you can't get it to replicate, so then they think you're crazy. All these things, but one thing after another, it all started to come and fall into place. Honda, I was struggling with the front end, getting the thing to turn. I think stock or something back then was 22 offset clamps. I want to say that Mitch couldn't build, we were going to have Mitch build 22 clamps, but I wanted to try him. And so we got Honda to allow me to try their 20 miller offset clamp. And of course, it's light years different. It needs 18 different parts to just go with the clamp. And it's so much better. And I'm immediately and not because the 20 offset, just their clamp, their races, their stem are just amazing. And so, I think that they witnessed the what would I say? The increase in how much more comfortable I was riding.
You talking about Pro Circuit or Honda?
I'm talking about Honda.
Okay.
Yeah, Honda. So Honda basically was hey, we'll make these available. And then honestly, I got podium the next weekend in Oakland, and then I won the weekend after that. And from then on, little pieces and little parts started to flow from Honda.
Funny how that works, right?
It is funny how that works. But it was, I can honestly say that I earned my, everything. It wasn't like I ever came in and just was hey, I'm a past Supercross champ. I want this, this, and this, because that conversation happened and it just got shut down right away. And so, I had to earn it. I had to, ride myself into it. I had to earn their trust. I think having Lars on the team helped a lot because they trusted Lars. So it wasn't just me that they had to deal with. It was actually more, okay, you deal with me, but Lars is really in control of it, and you trust Lars. And, kind of one thing led to another. We got more parts. Suddenly we were working there, and then one thing led to another. I ended the season on the factory bike.
What year
I would
was
add
that?
to that?
Was that 2010?
That was 2011.
2011, okay.
So I finished second in the championship. I think I was 4 points short of Billo. And really, it all just comes down to not getting the job done. It was my fault. Some were mine, some were, James and I, James got out of control, took me out in, where was that? Dallas, exiting the whoops. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, got taken out. And then, I think I don't even know where I finished that race, but, at the end of the day, I didn't win the races when I needed to win the races. There was one race that stands out to me, was 2 races. Toronto Supercross, I sat on Dunge the whole way. Honestly felt like I needed to be, a little bit more of a dick and go after it and rough him up a bit, and win the race. And same in Jacksonville. I was on Canard the whole time. Felt like I should have won and didn't. Just was too nice. So like, those 2 wins put you, in contention to win the championship. Because I always believe that you got to look at yourself and blame yourself. Like, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but sometimes that's your fault too. So
is that one of the championships you had mentioned earlier where you felt like you had a few that were just, they were in your grasp and it just didn't happen? That season, probably one of them.
Yeah, I don't know that would be one that I would put in the category of it got away from me, because I think that as a new team owner, coming off of the year that I had in 2010, did I really believe, or did everyone believe that I was going to turn it around and become a Supercross champ the next year? Probably not, as a, being nothing but a factory rider, and then suddenly I'm going to run a privateer effort on my own. I think that you have to be real. I believe that I could win races and I could come back and contend, but I also respected that there was going to be a process to it. I would say, the years that got away from me are 2012, 2014, 2006, just really not good enough to get the job done. What else? 2005, I wouldn't put 2005 in the category. Ricky had us covered the whole time. Yamaha 252 stroke with aluminum frame just didn't ever gel well with it. But yeah, those ones for sure for me, like, are ones that stick out. Getting hurt in 12 and 14. Those 2 titles, I think that we had a solid shot at those. What I would say and add to 2-2 is starting 2-2 was honestly easy. Everything went pretty smooth. But it's when you get there and then you achieve the goal of winning races, contending for the championship. 2011, when you look at it, the learning curve and our trajectory was just straight up, and at some point it has to level out, which at our level, a level out feels like you're just diving back to the bottom. And so we were just like, it was success, building, we were getting better. And, and everything was building, like the brand was building, Shift was building, Fox was putting a lot of effort into it. And so we just had a lot of momentum. So then how do you now finish, second in the championship in Supercross? Should have won the outdoor championship, but still to this day don't know how I crashed at Millville and ended up the way I did. But that crash happened. And then just mentally I was just ruined. Wasn't really an injury thing at all. I was totally fine. Just mentally I wasn't able to get myself back into the position of like being strong. And I think it, looking back, I would have loved to have figured that part out and acknowledged that there was a real mental issue rather than, because after that race, everything just felt wrong. I couldn't find speed. I didn't feel good on the bike. And I just struggled, and it took me a long time. It took me all the way through to Donations to feel good again. And I won the first moto at Donations that year. But
I always wanted to ask you that, because it did seem like, I always use the analogy.
I mean, of course I got, I was tweaked and I had some bumps and bruises and whatever, but nothing that should have, I should have been able to go to the next race and go 3-3. But I think I was outside the top 5 at Washougal, and it's just the feeling wasn't there, it was kind of like that. The movies of the Talladega Nights, or even
was
even
that a
Daytona,
spaceship that just went past me?
Right? And or the Days of Thunder, where he comes back after the big crashes and he just doesn't have it and he blows the engine or whatever, and it's just it's that moment where you're out there and you're just the pace feels faster than what it is, and the bike just feels all wrong, and it just you have to acknowledge at this point, it was just mental. You just, because it wasn't a crash where I was where you could go, I did this wrong. I actually don't know what I did wrong.
You still don't know what happened?
And over and over, and it's of course I can see that it hit something, right? It visibly looks like there was a hole there that wasn't visible or whatever, but it's still, to this day, I can honestly say I didn't do anything that I would change or do differently. It just was one of those things, know? And so that it wore on me for a long time. And then I think RV went and won the title. But so then you got all that momentum. Now you got to go, okay, now we need more sponsorship because I want to add this, this, and this. Because throughout the year, you find out your weaknesses and your strengths. We then signed a 2-year, contract with Honda. We moved into the Honda workshop. So like all these things were happening. It was really positive. But how do you now fill in the gaps and the blanks that, of the holes that you think that you have? Like when you have like a basically 12 months of data under you, where you're like, okay, we lack here and we lack here. Let's figure out how we could do that. And unfortunately, at the racing level, that takes money, and it's just okay. So now our budget was this, but we really need it to be this, and so you're finding sponsors, and I would say year 2 was the challenge, and then it got harder and harder after that because it was how do you sustain it, and then how do you grow, and then at what point do I take? I'm the athlete, but I'm also the owner, the businessman. How do I turn this into really just being the businessman, but then the athlete that makes the money too? And it was really, really challenging to do that because it was always the 2-2 brand was so unbelievably strong, but unfortunately it was only strong when the monkey on the handlebars was doing his job and doing the things that I needed to do.
Everything was on your shoulders at that point.
That was what wore on me. It was like at no point was it the work of the team or anything like that. It was really just, it was the athlete side of it that got to me and that got too much. And then, like 2012, we were winning races, contending for the championship, had the red plate, then I think I was like 2 points out of the championship going in, and then we crashed in Dallas. And then everything falls apart, right? I'm out for the rest of the season, outdoors as well.
Yeah.
So then you got Bellray questioning, Bellray wanting to change contracts. And now you've got this massive commitment of said sponsor that they're wanting to cut it in half. And if you don't put a rider on, but what they don't understand is to put the rider on also costs said amount of money, but you want to cut me half, it doesn't make any sense. So then that's when you start to find the holes of the sport in general, just the sport and how it is and how it's it's unsustainable. We had a few sponsors that were really well paying sponsors that were some of them didn't really work out because of the shortcomings of the sport. We had the camera deal. There was a couple other things where they had exclusive deals with Feld and also MX Sports, and so now you've got almost $500,000 in sponsorship that you have to say, sorry, I want your $500,000, but I really can only just put a sticker on my helmet and on the truck because they won't let me show the product. Even if it's a fake product, they still won't let you. And this is the shortcomings of the sport. This is why 2-2 Motorsport goes away. This is why RCH goes away. This is why JGR is struggling. This is why it's unsustainable to have, these.
Geico Honda's not going to be Geico anymore. Like, what are they going to do?
We're about to see some real struggles at Geico. Geico has been, I would say, one of the best teams as far as funding and having great sponsorship from their beginning. Going back to the Larocco days, to the Wyndham days. They just have done great at doing a good job of having good, solid sponsors, and I'm nervous for those guys to have and lose, Geico. So
I think there's a few people nervous at the moment.
That's what I would say about 2-2 is just, it was so awesome. I would run a team in a second with somebody else's money. I would love that. Like, it was so fun. Like, my favorite thing about the team was dealing with the personalities and the different personalities. And it's like, when you're on the road and you spend as much time as the moto community does around each other, you're essentially dealing with brother and sister bitchy fights, and it's like, this guy says this and this guy says this. And it's like, at the end of the day, you're kind of like playing dad, and you're like, you got to put the fire out over here. And this guy's not really living up to what he really should. So then you got to light the fire. And I found that really fun to do. And I miss that part of it.
Would you move to California to do that? If you had a good job offer, would you move?
That's a current problem. I actually have a few options to move and step into some great roles. But I don't have any. I mean, I'm not like especially in the world we're living in right now. I have zero desire to want to get on a plane and move my family into California. I love California. I would move to Newport Beach, Newport Coast in a second. But it doesn't seem like a fun place for but it's always that double-edged sword. I think that what you do and how you create your children is how it is. But them living in the OC, do I want them to have that lifestyle? I don't know. But yeah, currently I've turned down some options, because I'm not ready to move to California.
I was going to say, I know of 2 team managers who are done after this year with good teams, kind of giving you what you want. I don't know if we're thinking of the same ones, but
yeah,
that's interesting. I don't think I'd move out here right now either, no matter what the deal was.
I know at least one of them, so yeah.
Well, just to add to your point, you talked about the team and that was one of the things from the outside I always thought would always become an issue. If you go look at McGrath's team, it was a great team. They would look professional. They had good sponsors, but it revolves around Jeremy. You take Jeremy out, there is no real team.
Well, look how short. Like, as soon as you took Jeremy out,
exactly.
Look at it.
And that's
like he
that
had
was
the
the
Bud
problem
Light
for you.
sponsorship. He had the Bud Light sponsorship, and that Bud Light sponsorship didn't even last the end of the retirement tour. The bike went from Bud Light to Hot Wheels real quick. Bud Light bailed on it, and it's just that's the downside to a rider-owned team. Is that the product you're selling is you.
Exactly.
And so everything you commit to is you, and everybody has faith in you. But as soon as you turn that off, it's really, really challenging. And I get a kick out of people coming to me, and obviously my current relationship with Mountain Motorsport, everybody sees an opportunity, right? Mountain Motorsport, they're spending money in the sport. How do we get into Mountain Motorsport? And everybody wants a piece of it right now. And so they're all like, hey, why don't we start a team? I'm like, well, what do you bring? Because I can run a team as Chad Reed for a set amount of budget. But if you want me to run your team, it's twice that.
Yeah.
Because I'm no longer the piece of because I can leverage everything. I can leverage my bike deal, my bonuses. I can leverage my my gear deals, my goggle. Like, everything kind of becomes this piece of the pie that said piece of pie is this big, and then you can kind of cover it. And it's a passion project because it's not making money. It makes money in the fact that you get to pay the bills, but at the end of the day, it's not like I go and get rich from it.
Right.
So people don't understand that part of it, and that's what's challenging, is just the sustainability of doing it when you're not the monkey on the handlebars. So
let me ask you this, because one of the concerns, and I get that it's different when you're the owner and you're the rider, but I look at Geico, I look at even Chaparral, I look at what was the team that Wardy ran?
The Cowie team.
There's been several teams that you think, okay, these guys are solid guys. They got a great team, good personnel. They last 2 or 3 years, and they're out. JGR, I'm sweating bullets, hoping they can pull something together. And Kerry talked a little bit about this when he was on the show. The fact that they were cropping in on the podium, so you couldn't see Dodge and you couldn't see Jimmy John's or whatever it was.
Sequan or whoever.
Yeah, it went against the sponsors of the series, so of course they're saying,
which goes back to the comment. It's just an extension of the conversation where I'm like, when you got a Ricky Carmichael and a Kerry Hart, running a team, you try to take care of that team. In my opinion,
you would think
it's healthy to have Ricky Carmichael and Kerry Hart in our sport. It is healthy to have JGR and Tutu Motorsports in our sport. I truly believe that. Even if you want to take me out of it in this conversation, but those teams are healthy. They're different. Who they stand for as individuals and the name behind it. I just think it's healthy to have them. Absolutely. And so when Kerry's just scratching the surface, because he dealt with it for years and years and years. It's like look what happened. They went and, RCH went from guiding and talking about how ridiculously big their budget was and their sponsorship money to zero.
Yeah.
In a matter of half a year. And
it's not like they weren't getting results either. They won the championship with K-Rock.
Yeah. So yeah. and then and then K-Rock leaves. But look at the sustainability when K-Rock left. K-Rock wasn't technically a part of the team, but when you look at the bigger picture and you look at an RCH, and then like Ricky, Kerry, and Kenny, two of those people are managed by somebody, and the person bringing the sponsorship in is also that somebody.
Yeah.
So then when all that falls apart, it all just goes downhill fast. And it's just unsustainable. And I think it's a sad part of our sport when there is, like, when we're a Toyota sponsored Supercross series and Dodge comes in, and it's like, that to the point where you couldn't even put the Dodge within the pit area, and there was screaming and yelling, and the amount of behind the scenes, like, that was what was challenging to me. Is don't worry about what you see from the outside looking in. It's the conversations and the constant just wearing you out. Like, as far as, like, the positioning of where they put you in the pit area, to how they put you in the pit area, to how they let you do what you need to do in the pit area. And I would say that Kerry, and Kenny Watson in particular, the constant fighting for what's right for you, but then just that constant going at each other within the sport, I think just wears you out.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
where I was just like, I'm done. Like, it's not that I hate the team, and it's not anything. It's just, dude, I'm over it. I'm worked from just the constant battling MX sports and motorsport. The politics of it.
I mean, that's the one thing that I always respected, at least with NASCAR. When I moved to the States, I used to be a little bit baffled how it was so big. But when you went to an event, you realize they knew one thing, and that was, we got to market the shit out of all these sponsors. And whether it was Chevy or Toyota or Dodge or Bud Light, Coors Light, Miller Lite, it didn't matter. They all got their fair share, their bite at the apple. And if Coors Light happened to be the sponsor of that event, it was known was a sponsor of the event. But if the Bud Light driver was leading, they still got mentioned, and their TV time keep the sponsors around. And I think that's one of the issues we have. One, our bikes, it's hard to get all the advertising on TV because you got that much room, and they're coming by pretty quick. So when a guy eventually is on the podium, you would hope that they have a chance to get their logo seen and mentioned.
Our sport's so podium driven, which is why I think our sport never grows, is because, how would I say it? Like,
if you're not on the podium, no one even knows who your sponsor is.
The podium interviews and the podium conversation is so 1980s mom and dad at the amateur level.
Well, they just replaced mom and dad with the team name. I want to thank mom and dad.
And when sponsors start implementing fines and things like that for not saying it, it's like, dude that's giving you a free truck now wants his name said on the podium, otherwise you get your balls busted. And it's like, in the big scheme of things, that free truck ain't shit. It's just
a couple $100 a month.
But that's what it is. And it's like, NASCAR does a great job of doing the interview and answering the questions with getting certain sponsors their love. You don't have to, like, I mean, I'm trying to think of a sponsor that really, like a Dunlop tire. Dude, you got Dunlop, you got even Monster Energy, like, or Red Bull. It's like, it's massive on your hat. It's massive here. Like, the viewer understands that you're Red Bull,
Yeah.
And that's where I just think that there has to be a change, and the change has to be far bigger than just said individual or whatever. It needs to be a big overhaul of it is. And it's like, you bring in a sponsor. I mean, I have, look at Discount Tire. It was such an amazing sponsor. I would love to represent them. Great company. They're still spending money in Supercross, and it's like, Supercross basically gave them a better deal than what we could, It's just, that's how it works. A lot of those sponsors, they can, the
problem,
can help them. They want to steal your money away from you rather than helping you.
Right.
Like, in my opinion, they're a business too, and I respect that. But at some point, you have to realize that it's got to be sustainable for these sponsors. And say there's a piece of the pie. Don't try to take half or more of the pie. Just take a little bit, just be happy. If you take a little, then your pie will get bigger.
The pie
too.
gets
It's
bigger,
fine,
right?
But don't try, if you take such a huge part of this pie, well, then now that pie is just going to go away, and that's what I think you've seen with Tutu and RCH in the particular.
And the way I would describe it is Feld and MX Sports, they do what I call, they squeeze the puppy too tight. They got this thing and they're like, they don't want to let anyone hold it, or, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, let teams sell merchandise in the pits. Why does that hurt you? When they're up on the podium, damn it, let them see the Dodge logo so that Dodge is pumped and they stay involved and engaged.
Yeah.
That's more money for the sport. Like, they don't see that bigger picture, it feels like.
Because the big scheme of things also is these manufacturers, I always say it, and I think that running my own team and doing it, and seeing the sport and all the different directions that I've seen it in my, 30 plus years of being involved, I blame the teams. Like, the manufacturers, every manufacturer is to blame of our current situation, of how everything you want to complain about. I don't believe you can hold MX Sports and Feld Motorsport accountable. You can't, because they are running a business, and their business is to make money, run a Supercross or motocross series.
Right.
The manufacturers are not ran by smart individuals, business-orientated individuals that know the bigger picture. And until they stand up and say, no, this is what we want, this is how we're going to do it, and that's when we're going to bring these monkeys to put on the show and perform in front of set amount of people, until they all get together, which will never, ever happen. I don't believe you see motocross and supercross grow any bigger than it currently is. I think it already maxed out in the early 2000s. But that's just my opinion. And that is why I don't have a burning desire to run a race team or do anything terribly huge in the industry, because it just doesn't, there's no growth. There's nobody standing up and being accountable and saying, guys, like you just simply said, why not give these teams and let them run their own merchandise? I can promise you could open that up, and nobody would, no manufacturer, not teams, because teams would take advantage of it. No current manufacturer would take advantage of that and run it, because that takes personnel, it takes money, it takes thought, it takes planning, it takes buying a merchandise rig. It's, you got to spend money to make money. I don't believe that it ever happens. That's just, and when you talk about a JGR and RCH, a 2-2, they see the different picture. They see a bigger picture. They're creative. And when you start getting creative, you're just met with nothing but walls, and nobody has your back. And I've been in all those conversations. I've been in all those manager meetings, and it's just a waste of time. It is pathetic, and that is the situation we have. And it's the hard truth. And I hate talking shit about an industry that I love and I have so much passion for, but it won't get any bigger. It just won't grow until somebody puts their foot down and says, hold on a second, we're going to do it this way. And until that happens, I think what you see is what you get.
Well, don't you think that this could be, let's just say, with 2020 being the crazy year it is, teams on the fence of whether they'll be able to come back, there's a lot of, this might be one of those perfect storms where that opportunity comes where people do sit down. It only takes
I would agree to
4 or 5 intelligent people to get together.
Unfortunately, the teams in jeopardy are always the ones that don't really count.
They don't really have much of a say in this whole...
Yeah. I mean, truthfully, tell me that KTM, Husky, Cowie, Honda, Yamaha's going to switch up and change anyway, but tell me that those teams are really in that big of trouble that they're going to make changes. Do you believe that?
No, because they've got...
And so
their sales are up right now.
Without them being in trouble, do we change?
Well, the thing is,
you think Mitch changes the sport? Do you think Geico changes the sport? Do you think JGR changes the sport?
You got a super fan behind you.
Yeah, Ellie's waving in the background.
No, and that's where you're right, in the sense that the manufacturers are doing okay. There's no need for them to upset the apple cart what's been happening has sort of worked. Think about it.
And I'm sure you guys hear the same rumblings that I do, but it really sounds like the only ones on the fence and potentially not excited about what's happening is Cowie, is all I hear. You know? But sounds like Cowie's like, oh, we should do this, we should do that, but it's all, you know, talk's cheap, right?
So the only way, in my opinion, that change ever happens is there's got to be a leader to go in, and it won't be easy. It'll be a lot.
I'm out.
You're not that guy?
On this. I would love to be that guy, but I think I'm out.
I mean, you will be blackballed from the events.
Oh, yeah.
You'll be frustrated to no end with teams saying they're going to do it, then pulling out. But it will take somebody that everyone likes, like a you or a Wyndham maybe would have been good. Kennard would have been good.
I think they would probably tell you the same thing.
Kennard doesn't have the personality.
I think he's too nice for that spot.
Yeah.
I think K-Dub couldn't be bothered.
I don't think he has enough life experiences of how the real world happens. And that is something that you're very sheltered, and I was guilty of it until running my teams and seeing all the shapes and sizes that happen behind closed doors and all the things and like the restrictions that you really have. And I think that's maybe a small part of what Dungey got to experience when he was a part of Geico. It's easy to come in and want to influence and say, hey, this worked for me, let's do this, this, and this. But then, said money guy, my Shaq says, well, we've got all this here. Why would we want to do this, this, and this? And, when the pie isn't getting any bigger. And I just think that maybe Dunge got a real reality check on what's, what the world's like outside of your factory multi-million-dollar contract.
Yeah. Well, shit, if he's out, I mean, that doesn't leave a lot of hope for the sport. If a guy like you won't take the reins.
Love that position. I think I could build a great team. I have this conversation many, many times with some really smart people. I would say, and I would hate to see it happen, but I think one of the better things that could happen, and I'm hearing rumbles that all is not kosher, but I think that you need to take on it and like the sport to change it. Like where Feld Entertainment isn't doing great or Feld Motorsport ain't doing great, and this position puts them in a vulnerable position. Now they want to off Supercross to somebody. It'd be great to be in that position to take that,
Yeah.
Find some investors.
Be part of that group.
And because you need to do it.
You've seen that in other sports. Retired athletes buying teams.
Then you could implement. I think you could implement a lot of things, and because at the end of the day, Feld makes the rules, the AMA is just a puppet. They just do what they're told. Feld makes the rules. So as the owner of, said company, if you came in and ran it and you really wanted to make a difference, I think that you basically come in and say, hey, I want to do this, this, and this. And everybody goes along and does what they want to do or does what they have to do because that's what they do.
Well, that's not unlikely at all. How many times has the series been sold just since you've been here? I mean,
correct. And like I said, I would hate to see it because I think Feld does a great job in that. But I mean, geez, man, when you think of the world right now being turned off, there probably ain't a business or a company hurting more than them. And the fact that they are a live driven.
Oh, Live Nation's also hurting.
So it just like obviously we all hear that there's a lot of people that got lost their jobs, and we're kind of learning that they lose their jobs. But how often can you can't take months off until we rebuild and then come back. I mean, those people are only going to go back and come and so often. But it's crazy. Like that part of it is why I don't think Supercross happens in January.
Wow. Interesting.
Well, so to go back to 2011, you did win the Brett Michaels Rock Hard Ride Hard Award.
I did. I have
was that any consolation?
Maybe there was some money. Maybe it was like $25,000 or something like that. I don't remember actually.
So one hand,
I got a guitar.
One hand of blackjack.
And it was right, dude. In our heyday, we were pretty good at that game. At least one night we were good at it.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, if only the world was there that night.
I was barely there that night.
To see Chelsea and Ellie's face at 10:30 in the morning when they found us at the table still.
I just remember being removed by my ear. So
yeah. hold on. I just went, no, stop. There's a lot of money here. We're doing good. We're alive. We're actually sobering up. We're good.
yeah, that was a blow. That was a fun blow.
Yeah. But good times.
All right, so 2012, that was a great season for you. Just going back and looking through up until you had your crash.
Yeah, up until getting hurt.
Yeah.
Good season. I mean, like you always talk about bikes and you reminisce about this bike did this and how good this bike was. Like my 2012, factory Honda, I would confidently, and I'd love to build it. Like I would love to have it. I would put that bike against any current bike, all of them, not just, singling one of them out. And it just did things right. It stopped, it turned, the engine was good. And you always have that like, oh yeah, it was that amazing. And it would be fun to ride it again and go, oh yeah, no, maybe it's not as good as I remember or whatever, but just, it was stable. It turned on a dime. It was light, like I think it was like in the kind of like the low to mid 220s. Now you look at a factory Honda and it's in the high to low to, maybe, high 220s to low 230s, if you're lucky. And so just badass. I don't know what was so good about it, to be honest with you. What was it? It was its third year of that generation. So, so you'd maxed out kind of everything, because
it would have been the fourth year. It was new in 09. So it'd be 9, 10, 11,
yeah, it
12.
was. You're right.
Yeah.
So that particular bike, remember, everybody hated it in 09.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like tweaking on it, because it was a huge shift away from where the bike was. It was really like the 09 Honda is really the generation of where everything's at now, as far as like getting the bike short,
flat,
a lot of weight on the front, the ergonomics of them being really flat. Honda was the one that really changed that way of thinking, and really everyone's just going that direction and stayed in that direction. So I think that it was so different that it took a long time for, like, I think it was Davey and Shorty at that point, and I think IT, maybe Ivan Tedesco. Maybe Shorty wasn't even there yet. Maybe Shorty was, I'm not sure. But those three guys kind of struggled, like openly were struggling, and kind of like towards the end of 09, they brought Dave Arnold back. They went a little bit different direction, and already like by 2011, the bike was freaking awesome. And we just basically tweaked 11 into 12. And I just loved it. I loved it. It was awesome. So we started with a full head of steam. I didn't know where I was at the first race, first or second. I was second or third. But yeah, it was a good bike, good engine, good weight. It was awesome.
We fought a lot with that bike in 2010 with Townley. Remember, because he came over and rode for us, and he had great rides that summer. In fact, at Redbud, I think you guys had a battle down to the last lap for the win in the second moto.
I think we did. Yeah, we did. I think you're right. I was second, maybe even. I think JG actually won the moto, and I think me and Ben was second and third or something like that. Yeah. But just
probably fighting the same things.
A long way.
A little stink bug and
we changed the bike. Like, obviously, I know what was changed, and it was so drastic. So though we figured it out, I don't know that the production bike was necessarily much different than the 9 bike. And at that point, like Troy Lee Honda wasn't getting what we were getting. They didn't have access to what we had access to. But Dave Arnold made a huge contribution to that bike in the way that geometry, and we changed everything up. It was really badass.
I didn't know Dave went back to Honda that year.
I don't know that he ever went back to Honda. He just
kind of contracted to help.
It was I think he just was brought in and was able to help. But I know that when did I go there? I went there in 11. So I think it was like 9 and 10 was what he implemented. And then I really only undone one thing. They went back to the 08 swing arm, which was really, really short, 15 millimeter shorter than the production 09 thing. And for me, it did some things really, really good, but it just was really unstable. So I was the only really the biggest difference I changed from when I got on the factory bike was I went to the original or the normal year 15 millimeter longer swing arm, and then of course normal and typical at moto. As soon as I went to it, everybody else went to it, and we were all on that bike. So it was awesome. I'd love to build that bike up. Like I would love to know if Honda still has like that engine around and things like that. Obviously that generation and that bike is so far removed from what's currently happening. Maybe they'd be willing to, give up an engine or something like that. That'd be cool.
Well, I'd be curious to see if it's still as good as you think, because I always say the same thing about a Suzuki 125 from the year 2000. Like that bike, to me, I couldn't make a mistake on it.
You know what was awesome about it's funny because me being me, I always said when I got in the KTM, because when this generation of KTMs, which obviously we're into like that second, third, fourth generation of them already, but when they haven't drastically changed since the original one that Dunge had Dunge's first championship with KTM on Supercross. I don't remember what year that was, maybe 14. But since that generation of KTMs, I've always said, I would love to know if this bike was built off of our Honda, because Shorty was a big part of the testing, I believe. And when Shorty went to KTM, I think he had a bit of an influence on helping and all that kind of stuff. And I'd be really, because when you measure front axle to pivot and then pivot to rear wheel, it's identical to what a 9 to 12 Honda is. And I'm always riding it like ergonomically, how you fit on it and ride it. So that being said, I love my KTM for that reason. Like it just stops, it turns, it does all these things. Like whatever the weight distribution is and how they have it set up, it just fits my style and how I like it. So yeah, I don't need that Honda. I guess I got the KTM.
Close enough.
Yeah, you look good on that bike. I remember that. Yeah, you just you often look good, but I think on that bike in particular, you looked like you were just oozing confidence when you rode it. That's why even your crash in Dallas was a bit of a surprise, because you looked so in control. It was a real
surprise, and it almost was like, it was almost like a self-induced crash, because I was so confident and I was pushing so hard. And it's crazy because I didn't feel like I was on the limit, but we were close. Like RV and I, like when you think of like just me and RV and in a matter of 7-8 laps, we dropped Stu, dropped Dunge, and like at that point, those two were the dudes, and we were gone. And like RV started making mistakes, and I was like, all right, I got him on the ropes. And then next thing I'm the one that makes a mistake and goes out of it. But crazy, like what that happened? Was a real.
Wasn't there a jump into before some whoops and then?
Yeah, it almost looks like it hit a bit of a hole or something.
Yeah, it was like typical. It was typical, like that. What do they call it? Like a 3-5-3 into the sand. And I don't know that the last 3 was necessarily a 3. It was kind of like a 3, but it was made out of sand. It was blown and then it was away. A sand section. And I think I just came out and I think maybe carried just a little more momentum than normal through the turn and seat bounced it, and it just caught me off guard. It just kind of kicked me. Yeah, no, I mean,
you almost rode it out too. It was like
I almost rode it out because immediately, like as you guys have rode a lot, and it's like at the level, and it's like you immediately know that something went wrong, and and so I went to third. In the air, I went to third to get the rotating on the wheel to get the thing to come up, and it just and maybe the fact that it was sand didn't help me because it just grabbed me. And then when I went to third, I had my foot under it to click it. And then when it like dug me in, and then it kind of like the bike, like it flipped me, like it drove me into the ground. But then the bike, I stayed with the bike, and then the bike went away, and that's what broke. It's what tore my ACL. Is my foot was under the shift lever, and then so it wasn't like my knee hyperextended or anything like that. It actually did the just pull, separated, and just separated and just snapped my ACL and my MCL and PCL. I think it did like a good old job on my knee.
I thought your boot got hung up because when it flips,
a lot of people thought that because like when I was on the ground, I was still hooked in a little bit, and so I think everyone was like, "Oh, he got his foot," but it was the fact that I shifted to third to get the thing, the wheel rotating faster to try to save the crash, but it didn't.
Not
didn't
quite.
end well.
Damn it.
Didn't get it around. And you know, when you crash and you have certain feeling, like at that moment, I was just like, it's done.
You heard,
you know, like I've had a lot of crashes
pop?
where you're like, you know, like you have a lot of crashes and you're like, get back on, and it just like it was immediately I'm like, I'm not okay. You know, like I knew like my back, because I broke some ribs and some the little things, the little wings on your spine. Yeah, that's it. And then and immediately I'm just like, I'm not good. You know, like get me, come on. You know, like I'm not much of a guy. Yeah, like Bodner, somebody get me. I'm not good.
That was a bummer because you were on it that year.
Yeah, it was fun, and then kind of like obviously that sucked, but probably the biggest thing that sucked the more was later that season we had done a deal with Townley to do outdoors. Obviously I was going to miss outdoors, and then so Ben had gone back to New Zealand, was racing in New Zealand, racing in Australia, and doing really good. And I'm kind of like, man, let's give Ben, like I know Ben for forever. I've known Ben since I was 14, 13 years old. You know, let's bring Ben back. I think he tries hard. He works hard. I think he deserves another chance. I think if we give him our team and our people around us, and the bike that I felt was really, really good, you know, I think he would have a good shot at like a top 3 in the championship. And that particular year, he had kind of found, I think, a pretty good balance with his Honda also. Like, although it was production, but his Honda had kind of been tweaked on and really liked it. And he was just going, I think, in my opinion, just ridiculously fast and confident, and almost same as what I did, is just so confident, so good. And then just like one little mistake and it blew his hip out. I think he broke his hip and things like that. So then, yeah, like 2 weeks before nationals, he was literally getting on the plane. I begged him not to go to Australia. I said, dude, because he signed the deal. I had rented him a house in Florida. And I said, dude, please. I'm like, because he didn't have to go to Australia. I'm like, please don't go. Like, just, like, you're good. Like, winning in Australia is not, like, you're not, in the big scheme of things, like, it's not going to do anything. And, yeah, nah, man, I really want to go. I just want to keep whatever. And I'm like, all right. And it's just one of those things where I begged him not to go, but he went. And as an athlete, you can't argue that. If he wants to race, you got to race. You know, race is race. So, yeah, it was unfortunate. And then, obviously, then we didn't go racing at all. I didn't replace anybody other than Ben. I wanted to put somebody on the bike that I felt was going to be competitive. And unfortunately, no one else at that point in time in the season was going to be competitive like Ben could.
And didn't the year before, he went back to Europe, because we tried to keep him, but he got an offer for a lot of money in Europe, 2011. I think he went over the road for, maybe it was a Suzuki team, and he had a big crash.
I think Suzuki came after.
That was when Everts was there as well.
Was later, because yeah, I want to say that he was 14, there like 15. Later, like I want to like 14, 15ish or something like that. It was it was after that, you know, whenever it was. So
anyway, well, so tell us what happened. Honda didn't want to come back to the table and talk for 2013.
No, Honda was. I actually had a contract. The problem is the 13 bike was just a bike that I never gelled with it. You know, I couldn't ride it. The weight distribution, everything about it was just nothing like the previous model. And I struggled, and I think that it kind of like at the same time, air forks were coming in and a big part of our sport. And so I think that the bike in general sucked, and then you add an air fork to it and it really sucked. So then we got rid of the air fork, and it just kind of like, it was one of those things where me and Kevin were seemingly the only two struggling on it. Everyone else seemed like they were finding speed and able to ride it. You know, like Barsha wasn't horrendous. Eli was okay. And then Kennard was kind of like okay as well. It kind of took almost 6 to 9 months for those guys to start making the comments that we were making right away. And then it was like, then the bike sucked, then it was this, and then it was that, and it was kind of like they started like switching and changing and, you know, all these things. And basically like one day they kind of closed, like it was an open relationship. our race shop, their race shop, side by side, and suddenly they put a door, the door closes, and then they don't, they've got this new thing, and it was literally they went back to cable pull clutch, and that was the secret, and our team wasn't allowed to know about it, and they showed up at I want to say it was Washougal Supercross, and I just laughed my ass off when I seen that they went back to cable clutch, and that was the fix. And I'm just like, this is not okay, I wanted to be a part of trying to fix it and help them, and it just felt like we went like this rather than working together. We tried multiple different sides and going to this person, that person, to try to figure out how do we rally the team together. Because it made the most sense for us. Like, as Tutu Motorsports, like anyone, as a kid, I grew up wanting to be on Hondas, I think that anyone in my generation looked at the David Bailey, the Rick Johnson, then on to Jeremy McGrath. Honda was the team you wanted to be on, And so to be there and actually own the team and then be a big part of in the building, on the factory equipment, I took that on as being, really proud and honored to be a part of the company and wanted to be a part of it. But unfortunately, I don't think that when I say they, it was more the group of people that they had at that time. All those people are out, and so that was just a really challenging group of people to work with. And I honestly just put it down to that, is that we all clashed. They would promise one thing, never come through with the promise. And then me being me, I wasn't okay with people lying and, trying to tell just bullshit, really, to be honest. And so I felt moving forward, I could not, like, at that point, I'm 30, 31, 32-ish. So, like, at that point, you're kind of like, you feel like every passing day or race is becoming your last, or near to it. Retirement's starting to be considered. People are starting to say it's 30 plus. It's not the bike, it's me. So then, like, a big part of that, and so then I started just wanting to be a little bit more like, as a normal athlete, like you think about in the now, not next year or 2 years or the team's sustainability. I only thought about me. Like, I knew that I could not ride this motorcycle and perform at the level that I wanted to perform at. So I had to make the best decision. And as the team owner, I could make that decision, So at that point, I was just like, I can't do it. Like, I don't think that I can, like, at this point, I feel like I'm going to race one more year and then I'm over it because it's not fun for me. So that was when I basically rode all the bikes. I was out of contract, rode over them all. The two bikes I came back to was a Cowie and a KTM, and I did another back-to-back with just them two, and I felt that my relationship with Mitch, and we were going to take over the L&M shop, which we were getting on the backside of the I don't even remember what it was, but the Jeff Ward team, basically. Yeah. So that team had gone through some real down periods, and they'd switched from Yamaha to Cowies. So there was a boatload of Kawasaki parts and hot up parts, and Dudley was a big part of it, and he was leaving and going to KTM. So, like, I trusted that these parts and these things that had been developed, like, the people that developed them, I had nothing but respect for. So I'm like, I just think that this is probably the best case scenario. When you think of Kawasaki, I think of Mitch. And then when I look at the race shop that I'm taking over and a lot of the things that are getting left behind, it was all left behind by Dudley. And I was like, and I love that dude and respect him as an engine builder. So I'm like, I think this is the best choice for me. So that was why we did it. And then quickly we turned to Kawasaki into a really good competitive motorcycle, because of the resources that I had. And, that's how you do it, like, that's how you run something, is when you're going somewhere, you have to look at the resources available to you and how you can, because it's not a shortcut, but how can you go from here to here in the easiest, smoothest transition?
Path of least resistance, yeah.
Exactly. And so when you go to Cowie and my relationship with Mitch and the parts getting left behind, I was just like, that makes sense. So we did that. Kawasaki was actually really cool. I rented ECU, factory ECU, and hubs. That was it. And then everything else was our bike. ECU is everything in our sport at this point, I believe.
Yeah.
And then their hubs were just badass. So we wanted those. They were light and stuff.
Chad, were you to this point? Were you putting any of your own personal money into the team, or were you able to fund it completely?
Well, I mean, it's hard to decipher. Like, was I putting my personal money? Yes. But my personal money and the fact that everything you're leveraging is leveraged off of you, you know? So let's say I come up with, let's throw a number out there. Let's say I come up with $2 million of personal sponsorship. Well, that personal sponsorship, you're leveraging it all through 22 Motorsports.
Right.
So essentially, it's not like Ellie and I get to take $2 million and put it in our bank account, and then we go and get $2 million for 22 Motorsports. It just, unfortunately, that was the challenge. Was, again, going back to, you're the monkey on the handlebars. You are the prized possession that you're selling, and so it was challenging to constantly be able to, you know, there's the personal income and the personal life that, you know, cost you X amount to run that, and then you got the race team that cost you to run, you know. So it was really hard and challenging to kind of like combine all that. So essentially, yes, the short answer is, I was losing money.
It seems like it would be frustrating to know, okay, I raised all this money. Now, whatever I don't have to spend on the team, I get to keep, right? That's my team. That would be my salary.
But I want to build my team and make it good. But I want
this badass team, so it's like you just watch this go down.
And having the passion for the sport that I have, and then like what I think, like when I was at Cowie and I really disliked the way the team ran, and I didn't have any positive things to say about what they did and how they achieved what they were achieving. But what I like about is I was willing to go spend the money to do it right, because you can't question somebody for doing it this way and then go do it the same way to cut costs or whatever it is, whatever their reasonings. And so I always just went, you know what, this is what it takes to win. We're going to do it. And Ellie will tell you, it sucks, because when you want to win and you want to do things, you just do it, you know? And if it costs this much money, you got to raise that much money, and that it is what it is, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's respectable. I don't think a lot of people would gamble on themselves that way.
Yeah.
And we've already talked about that. You've done that your whole career. You're just like, well, this is what it costs to have a winning setup. Let's do it.
You've always done it the ballsy way. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Like, you've basically had to bet on yourself. Yeah, you could say it, but I think you bet on yourself to get out of Australia and make it at the world level. I had to do it to an extent, you know, just make that move.
You just learn. Like, I didn't look back and, like, I didn't think negatively of any of it, you know? Like,
it's learning.
You just learn so much. You see the sport at such a different angle. And, like, I would hate to be, like, go through it all, be left with set amount of money, and like, all right, I'm going to run a team, and then learn all that, you know? When, you know, I learned a lot of it when it was like you were utilizing yourself and your sponsors, and it's like, did I lose money? Yeah, but it's like, you're in the big scheme of things, you know, it wasn't horrendous. And I feel like as a retired guy now, like, I don't have a burning desire to get right in there and spend my own money right this second.
Can't blame you.
Know, so you learned a lot. You learned a lot about business. You know, like when you're dealing and you're doing your own deals, and you know you're talking to big corporations, and you know you start, because I started to take on more of it. You know, like at first I think you're just the factory rider, and the contract kind of gets negotiated with your agent, and then kind of just it gets to a certain point, then you come into the conversation and you just sign the deal, and then you go do your job. When you run your own team, you start, you know, when you start doing agent deals, agents are really good at just being like, yeah, no, it's fine, we'll deal with that, like, just get the money, and then we'll deal with the issues, and tell them, no, we can't actually do that. And I always had the hardest time. I'm like, no, like, don't commit me to that, because I can't do that. Like, I'm telling you right now, what you're asking from me, I'm not okay with doing that. Don't worry about it. You're okay, Chad. You're going to be fine. And so that was my biggest thing, is is kind of like when you are the team and the team is you, and you're no longer just the athlete, and you get this padded agent guy that gets to take all the hits. That agent doesn't really get to take the hits when it's your name on the line as a team owner. And so that's where I think that me and my agent kind of went a little bit in disagreements. He wanted one way, I wanted the other, and that was kind of when we just started, kind of drifting apart a little bit. And then the good thing about that was, like, I started to really deal on a day-to-day basis with the sponsors and the corporations, and I learned a lot. Like, I learned so much, and like, I'm excited to learn more about business and do things, and that's and I owe that to racing and running my own team. So no negative from it at all.
Yeah, no, I was just curious how much. 2014 was the year you won Anaheim, right? Am I right on that?
Yeah, twice. Yeah, 2 and 3.
Was it Retro Night? I can't remember which one
Retro.
it was.
I won both. I won there was 3, and
the Retro Night was a great race.
And I won. I was 3rd, and then I went 1-1 at the next 2.
Well, I think it was the
I
Retro
actually think
Night one.
the Retro Night was the one I came from behind, I believe.
Yeah.
A2 I came from behind. I don't know what Retro Night was, but it was
I think it was that night.
Was it? I think it was. Yeah, because I have a helmet that says 40 years. Yeah. It's actually a Troy Lee helmet, and it's got all the past champions on it. And I think it was 40th year, like 40th celebration.
Well, I don't remember what the hell. I think I was just there covering it for the magazine at the time or whatever. But I remember watching that race, and it was one of those ones where you watched and you just saw something special. I don't know if you guys had the same feeling, or if you've ever watched a race and it's like you almost like choked up when it's over. But watching you be so emotionally kind of overwhelmed after that race. I remember you squatting down beside your bike and then jumping up on that concrete. It was like, just as a fan, I was like, that's badass. I don't know how anybody would not have been happy for you.
The fans, I think, even if there were people in the stands that maybe weren't the biggest Chad Reed fans, they were cheering that night.
Yeah, it was just something special. I mean, I gotta believe that meant a lot to you.
And even from like the monkey on the handlebars, like, there was a calmness. Like when sometimes when like you're not necessarily, because I think I was like 6th, 7th, maybe. Like, like I wasn't like whole shot and right at the front. Track was kind of like typical Anaheim, where it got dry, it got slick, and track was a little bit more challenging. It had a big set of whoops with a weird roller into it after the whoops, after the triple. And so the track was real challenging. And then it was one of those typical kind of days where maybe you didn't feel the greatest all day, but you just kind of felt like you had a good grasp of what was happening. And I had this calmness of like, just something's going to happen tonight. Just let it come to you kind of thing. And I was, like I've always been pretty solid in the whoops. And so like I kind of basically broke the track down, and there was a whoops. You turn this 90-degree turn, and then it was kind of like this onto the table, and then another section. And it was kind of like if you put those 2 sections together, the rest of the track was kind of pretty straightforward, and you couldn't really do anything different. And kind of one after one, like I think Dunge lost the front and crashed, and then RV lost the front and crashed. And then ironically on throwback night, it kind of gets, left me and James are going at it. And so it was just fun, like it was one of those nights where, you don't often get to say you came from behind, you kind of stalked James Stewart, and you passed him and left him. Not many times you can claim that in your career, like dudes,
not many people can say that.
Yeah, like it was a handful of it, maybe not even a handful of us, but there's few of us that can claim that. And it was like, it was just one of those nights where just, like the bike was good, we were on point. We got it done. It was awesome. And I hadn't won in a while. I think it was one of the driest, longest period. Obviously that was 14. We went through 13. Again, I think in 13 I'm 31-ish, 2-ish. And like everyone's kind of written you off for the third or fourth time in your career. And so when you go do your own thing on a Kawasaki, and you've left Big Honda, Big Red, and you're the black sheep, and you're going and doing it on your own, to do that, like I think I had a podium in 13 but no wins. which was only the second time it had ever happened. Actually, maybe it was the first time it ever happened. No, 10. I didn't win a race in 10. So it was the second time. It's only the second year that I'd not won a race. And so immediately it just like, man, it's like, this sucks. And you have to make changes. And I always applaud people that can rethink and come up with a bigger, better plan that's going to put you in position to be a better racer, a better human, whatever. And so the pressures of all that, and really we were 3 races in of, already 3 races in. I was podium at the first race. Then I think we went to Phoenix. I struggled normally always in Phoenix. And then I come back and I win Anaheim. It's a pretty big relief, Yeah. And
sure.
so it's like, yeah, it was a huge relief for me to kind of turn it around. We had Discount Tire was bigger and better than ever. So it so happened to be on my cool down, kind of waving to the fans. I see big old Discount Tire banners. I'm like, I'm gonna give some love to them, and it was real. It was real emotion,
Yeah.
and I think that's sometimes what's missing from our sport is you gotta rub people's nose and face in shit when you can, because just so few times. I always think that like when you can stamp on somebody's throat,
I know what you mean.
do it,
And it
that's
feels
what's
good.
missing
You
with it.
need to. You got to get
That's
off
what
your
I miss
chest.
about it. I miss that about current generation, because that's what I grew up in. I seen everybody do it before me, and I'm just a product of what I've seen, and I do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fucking awesome. Let's be honest. And it was just cool, And it was
It's like
just,
sticking it to the man, You're just like, this is my time to
it
shine.
wasn't a Honda to be seen, not a Honda in sight to be in the podium contention. Maybe there was. I didn't even remember. Who knows? But it was just, at that point, nothing else cares other than you prove people wrong once again, or you prove yourself right.
I can tell you, it stood out to me, when I think back of those races where you're just kind of left, like, that was badass.
You realize you witnessed history.
Yeah, just
That's a
something
race
special.
that'll be talked
Yeah.
about for decades to come.
So, now to go to a much crappier place, was it San Diego that year where you had a big crash?
Mm-hmm.
There was whoops and then a double, if I remember right.
Yeah, whoops and
yeah. It was
I
another like
believe,
3.53 almost, or a step up. or
yeah, but it was
something.
the whoops that I crashed.
I thought
So what happened was, so I think James won the race. James kind of had checked out a little bit, and then I think I want to say RV and Stu had kind of checked out. It was one of those weekends I was struggling a little bit, just fought something all weekend, and then last lap going for third, Kenny's third, I was fourth.
That's
and
right.
then and then Dunge was fifth, and like it was like third, fourth, fifth, like we're all quite close. And yeah, basically like I'd finally like been chipping away, trying to figure out Kenny. I don't know if you guys remember that particular weekend. It rained all week or leading up to it, and it was gnarly in practice, and then it was pretty decent racetrack. There was this like tabletop with 2 singles, and I struggled and didn't do it all weekend. And then I finally did it in the main event. I was just like, it was like one of those tracks that like literally had you beat, like you were just mad at the world. And finally you get a good start and you just do everything on the first lap, second lap. And so the whole race, I had to almost ride myself into this new feeling of like doing the actual jumps on the racetrack that you're supposed to do. And so I was like finding pace, and then like big old round sets of whoops, real slippery. And, Kenny was kind of struggling. So then I just, got real close to Kenny, sent it, just like basically just on the bales, was sending it down the inside. The next turn was left. It was a 90-degree left. And, I would have, in my opinion, I would have got past Kenny, or at least got alongside of him, would have been able to make the pass. And then, hopefully fight for third. Unfortunately, I think it was Nick Way was a lap rider, and Kenny got a little bit balked by him and basically moved over when I had already full commitment to the whoops. And so I've had to just chop the throttle, and the thing just like, I just basically, was kind of riding the front, and then I hit the back of Kenny, and then kind of just like fell over. And when I fell over, it was like exiting the whoops. It was a 3-footer, and it just drove me straight into that thing. And again, it broke my scapula. and then did some AC separation, and then I think I broke a rib. So yeah, I DNF'd, and we were lapped up to quite a ways, so I think I ended up maybe just outside or inside this top 10 still. So for championship wise, I was still like in a fighting chance. I was only like, maybe 5 to 10 points out of it. But yeah, at that point, I would say, and I've said it a couple of times, like that particular injury, it was one of those injuries where you knew, like, you weren't okay.
Yeah,
like you're like, this sucks. I'm hurt, but everything's riding on you. The pressure of the team being you, the sponsor being, all invested in you. And so I committed. Ellie and I talked, and it was, you kind of have that normal chat where she basically talks you off the ledge, tells you to get out of the hospital, go start rehab, race the next weekend. And I was all in, but there was just like that. There was something questioning in the back of my mind. And the next weekend I rode Dallas, and my shoulder popped out. I broke my coracoid actually, and I have a screw in it now. But you kind of go through the checklist of all these injuries, and it's kind of like, okay, yeah, scapula's broken, but there's a lot of muscle of holding it together. I could still race and do this. Coracoid's broken. It's not a weight thing, so as long as you don't take a hit, you should be fine. And I'm like, screw it. Let's give it a try. And yeah, dislocated in practice, and that was it. I was out for the rest of 14.
Well, when you crashed and you were sitting, I remember you sitting up on the jump, kind of holding your shoulder. I mean, dude, you went in like a ton of bricks. You hit that. Oh yeah. You just into the face so hard.
That's what breaks things.
I was just hoping you weren't really jacked up. So
yeah,
that was a big one.
Yeah, and trying to ride the next weekend would definitely be one of the dumbest things I've ever had. Like, talk about pain, like getting shot up and try to, back in those days you could get shot up and painkillers and, get direct into the location, painkillers, and it didn't work still.
Yeah, not when you got bones broken. No. That's a tough one.
Bones broke. I don't care what you get shot with. Bones still hurt. Yeah. Bones hurt.
So at the end of 14, was that the end of the team, or did you do one more?
So 15. So I heal up. I raced outdoors, struggled. Kind of again, really probably shouldn't have rode outdoors, but I came back, felt the need to do it for sponsors. Kind of rode. You almost ride through a year where you're not really healthy. You wasn't ready to come back. A lot of other things were starting to seep in. The real struggles of the team were starting to really kind of become real. And then we took on JG in 15. So the team, though it was in jeopardy, and it was like kind of like, do I run it? Do I not? Discount Tire stepped up. They wanted 2 riders. They obviously witnessed the fact that, like, they were awesome in the fact that they witnessed, and I had such a great communication with the people then. People have changed a little bit, but back then it was like you could have a real conversation, and I think that they seen like how much I love the team and how much I love them, and I wanted to just do whatever it took to keep them happy. And I think they seen that maybe I did things that I shouldn't have done from the riding aspect of things. So they were like, the benefit of having a second rider would be huge. Take
a little weight off your shoulders.
A little weight off my shoulders. If I was to get hurt or he was to get hurt, there's still one person available. So they were in really, they were in high support of a second rider, and that's how we ended up with JG. And then, as far as the year, JG had his best Supercross season ever. Raced all the races, didn't get his normal getting hurt or missing a race here and there, I restructured the team, and team kind of was really, I could feel the team, they didn't understand why I was restructuring the team. But I think the end result of what we got out of JG is why I restructured it. Taking Lars from my mechanic to putting him with JG. And my thinking was, I'm in Florida. I'm never in California. Goose was a big part of the team, but he was heavily based in Idaho. So let's take me and Goose, who have an amazing relationship. Him and I work together, and we're not actively there. Where Lars was great. I always thought that Lars was a better mechanic than he was, doing like helper jobs and things like that. And so I thought that Lars could help go to the racetrack or practice track, test track, and test and really put his effort into working with JG and building that relationship, because they're both heavily built, based in California. And as it worked out, I think it was the right decision. But I think that, and even to this day, they'd probably say they were pissed off or bitter that he felt like he got downgraded, I think, when it wasn't that way. Like, in my opinion, I actually upgraded him because I valued him that highly that I wanted him to have that position, Never had that conversation with him, but definitely the feeling I got. So yeah, and then obviously Goose and I were just easy. We're just two old dudes that, it's kind of rekindled a relation, like he already worked on the team, but it was just easy, you could fly him to Florida if I needed to do things, and he would just go back to Idaho, and he wasn't having that daily hands-on experience that he was having, in California like Lars was.
And so what happened at the end of that season? Why the decision to back out?
Basically, just one thing after another. It just seemed like it really wore me. I wasn't having any success, and like anything, I think when you're not having the success, everything's an uphill battle.
It's hard to sell yourself to sponsors.
Yeah, I feel like it was. I started to feel the real situation of a team that I own and run being located in California, and I'm in Florida. I don't ever want to go to California. I'm never there. I never have to be there. And so there's that, I don't know, like there's just something was missing.
Yeah.
And it just started, the sponsors were starting to become more and more challenging. All those kinds of things. I think it just one thing led to another. It wasn't really one particular thing. It was just a, little thing here and a little thing there, and it just all added up to the point where I was just like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Was it difficult for you to pull the plug, or were you like, you know what, it's been a good run?
It was
I learned
one of the hardest things I've ever. Yeah, one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Really, to be honest, I was at Mount Morris motocross, and basically just like I felt like I was out there just riding, and my mind was like not even 1% on riding. It was just like I was just going through the motions, and everything was just like weighing on me. And I came in after the first moto, and I said, I'm done. I'm like, you all need to pack everything, put everything on the semi, go back to California, and I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Oh, is that right?
And yeah,
you didn't finish that summer?
There was 3 or 4 races left, I think. But yeah, I just shut it down right then and there. I'm just like, I can't do this anymore, and yeah, it was emotional, it was hard to make that decision.
Yeah.
But it was the only decision I could make at that point. I just couldn't. My head wasn't in it. I wasn't enjoying it. Wasn't having fun anymore. So I needed to make changes.
And I think too, when you make that decision mentally, especially knowing you, and I have a little bit of that personality, you can't prolong it. You can't drag it out and fake it. It's just. That's my decision, right, wrong, and different. This is how we're going to end it right here, right now, and be done with it. So I can understand how frustrating, or maybe not even frustrating, but just you look and you think of all the time and effort and hard work, and now to think like, yeah, we're just going to go away. It definitely is a little bit. I was able to do a very small team on a small level. You've been involved in a team, but you get invested in it. There's goals, there's pride, you do all these things.
Well, the guys were like your brothers.
Yeah,
like you almost
you got a family there.
You spend I was spending more time with those guys than Ellie and the kids. Like it's like you're so invested, and it's like. And I think from California to Florida was hard too on the East Coast timing, and it seemed like any conversation you needed to have with them, it was like you're dealing with that 3-hour window. And it just there was just a lot of things that added up, and at the end of the day it all comes down to dollars and cents and making sense of it. So
I feel like it would be tough in that position, because not only is it your team and you've put all this effort in to build it up, but it's like you also have all those guys on payroll. It affects them.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
that would be heavy.
And the thing that what I respect most is Ellie and I, we took care. Everybody got paid in full. Not one individual got cut. Their contracts obviously ended. Some of them had multi-year deals and they got terminated. But as far as that year,
Nobody got cut
salary.
short. Yeah.
Everybody, even JG got paid in full with missing 3 or 4 races.
That's cool.
Now it's just what I felt was right, so it wasn't the smartest business decision to make, but I felt like I could sleep at night and, felt good because again, those people weren't just people to me, like they were my people.
Yeah.
I still look at them as my people, when I'm around Lars and I see him in a Honda shirt and doing all these things, I'm like, God, he's so much better than what I still dig him, I love Lars, I love Oscar, Goose I regularly still speak with. It's like they're my people. I still enjoy those people,
So moving forward past that, what was your thought process for the following season?
At that point, I didn't have a plan, to be honest. Like, kind of just one thing led to another. I think I took some time off, try to clear my mind and figure out, like, is it time? Do I retire at this point? Do I continue? There was ramblings of trying to, like, Yamaha was starting, there was, like, you could hear some rumors in the background of, like, Yamaha wanting to come back racing. So I basically just invested myself in, like, I don't want to do this and have it all on me anymore, but I have an amazing relationship with Discount Tire. Maybe we can, stay with Discount Tire and I can take Discount Tire to Factory Yamaha. And it would be this, like, it's almost too good to be true, but like you go into that point where you're like, I'll go back home, Yamaha's home for me, and just enjoy that part of it. And we could take Discount and, Yamaha was talking a big thing, like they want to recreate team and do this and have this many people, all those kinds of things, and I was like, I want to be a part of this. And so then, obviously then I was on plane flying to California. And kind of not quickly, but kind of over the next month or two, I got a Yamaha, started riding two-stroke a little bit again. And then, just one thing led to another, and then that all worked out. Monster started, Monster invested in the team again, 360 Fly with Peter Addison invested in the team. Unfortunately, the Discount Tire thing didn't work out, as they kind of chose a different direction to go in. But we got a team fired up, and Yamaha went racing again, and it was just a single rider team. And then, but it, you look at the big picture, and I was really just the one that got the wheels turning. Yeah. And then Cooper was the prize possession that we were trying to bring into the team. And, he was a big part of the team actually even happening. Like, I think Monster required him to be signed on the 450 for the 2016 or 17 season. Because I think it was 16, 17. So he was coming on the team in 17.
17, yeah.
And so that, as we know, it didn't all work out like it was supposed to, but that was fun. Like, it was a fun part of, like, going home, going back to Yamaha. All the things that you remembered were still very real, and you got to witness it all over again at a different age and a different part of your life and career. And but like I've said over and over, that was fun for me, like, to bring Yamaha back racing and be a part of that. I shouldn't say bring them back, but I
be a part of it.
Part of it for sure. Yeah,
I was a big part of the fighting for it, and, like, going in and, because where there's smoke, there's fire always. And, the conversations that we had, and I was flying to Arizona with Keith and we were having conversations. Like, I do believe I was a part of, like, trying to find the money and the Monster relationship. I was a Monster guy and we were having that conversation. And so, like, at the end of the day, I think I was a big part of it.
For sure. So didn't have the results you really wanted probably those seasons.
Yeah. I mean, results wise, it was just really inconsistent. My results were very Yamaha-ish, to be honest. Like, they were either really good or really bad, and I just couldn't find that solid, I'm there every weekend. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, that seems to be the case, in the last kind of 5 years over there. So, like, I had different problems than what Cooper did, and that made it challenging. He couldn't ride the bike to save his life in the dry and the slick California, Arizona dirt. But yet I could only ride it in the dry.
Is that right?
So anytime we had traction and there was ruts, I was horrendous. And he was the opposite. Like we would go to Oakland and it was sticky and rutty, and I just felt like I'd never rode a motorcycle before, and yet Cooper was like crushing it. And so we could never compliment each other. We never could figure it out, you know. So
were your settings very different?
I think our settings were quite different. You know, and I think as the year went on, they got even further apart. But yeah, I don't know. It was strange that I could ride it in one condition, or I was comfortable riding it in one condition, and then I would struggle in others, and then he was complete opposite. So that just, I think that made it challenging for us. I think it made it challenging for the team, because when Run Ride is happy here and then struggling and then it's just complete opposite, then I think
they don't know what to believe, or what's going on.
Yeah. And I think at that point, who do you believe? Do you believe the old guy that's washed up? Do you believe the new kid that's supposed to be winning? Like, it's just, I don't know that they, like, it was a hard scenario to manage, I think.
Well, there's been, we talked about it, I think, in one of your last shows, but there's a component to something over there that's making that bike inconsistent at the factory racing level. Do you think going to Star, which is, by all accounts, what's going to happen next year, Star is going to run their 450 program, do you think that's a solution? Do you think they'll be able to find something? No? You say no. You think it's something in the bike, chassis or otherwise? All right.
I know what to say. Shit. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know that I believe it's the bike. I really don't.
Really?
I haven't rode the bike. Yeah. I haven't rode the new current bike, but even the bike we had wasn't horrendous. It wasn't. It was horrendous in ways, but I felt that there was a way to figure it out, and we were never able to really get in there and really dig deep and really ruin some stuff and make it terrible to learn something to make it better.
Yeah. And you don't think that'll happen at all with Star? You don't think that they're going to have a little bit of that opportunity?
I don't know. Maybe I'm reserved because I've been there and I've seen it in so many different ways, and I've seen it from the factory inner circle, I've seen it from the L&M circle, I've seen it from going back to the factory level, and I haven't ever seen it done differently. And though it may be there may be a new name, I don't know how much it'll really be different. So I don't know. Maybe
I just find it such a...
I hope I'm wrong. Yeah. Like, I think that the sport needs Yamaha in there digging, and it's 2 to 3 extra factory 450s that we need for people to be competitive, like when 2 factory bikes become not really an option, because in the big scheme of things currently right now, although, like, I'm happy to see Barsha starting to be more solid, like he's looking like week to week, moto to moto, he's a little bit more solid. Tickle's always solid. I don't care if he's on it doesn't matter what bike you ride, he just seems like
he'll make it work,
right? But I think that when you see, Bam Bam be able to win a moto and then he's horrendous and win a moto, and like when it's up, down, but I would say that recently he seems a little bit more consistent. Yeah. And that's always a good sign that things are positively happening. Yeah. So yeah, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm really wrong, to be honest with you. I think it's healthy that Yamaha gets in there and those 2 factory bikes on the grid become wanted seats.
It's such a bizarre situation, because that production bike, it's won every shootout in the last, aside from, I think MXA always, the KTM always wins, but every other shootout that's done, the Yamaha's either first or second. So in production form, it's a great motorcycle. Mm-hmm. What the hell happens between there and the gate at Anaheim 1? Yeah. What's the problem? Why can they not find that consistency to, like you said, make it good everywhere?
I feel like I have quite a few answers to that, but not willing to give those up.
Okay. You don't want to piss people off?
No, it's not even about pissing people off. I just don't think, like, why put it out there and fix the problem when it should be their problem to fix, not mine. So
Chad Reed has the answer to fix it, though.
Well,
I don't.
I
We
think a
shouldn't
lot of
claim
people
that.
have.
I feel like
thoughts.
I think I have some valid reasons of my opinion.
Well, you've been
of
in the
what I've
trenches as well.
experienced, what I've seen from both riding on the team and what I've seen from the outside looking in, and from being on the racetrack around those particular motorcycles. I think that there's some real strengths that they have. There's some weaknesses that they need to work on. But every team has that. But unfortunately, seemingly they have a bigger swing. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Interesting. So when the Yamaha deal wound down, what kept you going? Well, why did you decide to kind of do? Was that the year you hurt your ankle at?
I was actually trying to go through the years and figure out where we're at, but yeah, when I left Yamaha, it was just like I had to leave. Like I couldn't do what I was, and it was sad. Like the day that I decided, like, dude, I can't do this, and then because that like that was your second go around, and like I had this amazing thought of what was going to happen, and I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve with it.
Yeah.
The end result was like it hurt me. Like I actually was bummed. I was sad. So then I was like, okay, whatever. Like I can't do this. I'm not the best version of myself here. So I have to figure something out. And then, really, I went and raced the straight rhythm. Well, tried to race straight rhythm, and then broke my ankle the day before the straight rhythm.
The bike bog? I can't remember.
No, I just overjumped.
Okay.
There was like it was just it is a rhythm section. But halfway through the rhythm section, it was a big one. Yeah, it was kind of like, on a 450, it was literally so easy, I think, but just, the speed difference that you have within the rhythm section. Have you guys ever rode it? I think Gio, you rode it one year.
I was foolish enough to do it the first year, and
so
my knee
what
was
you don't
smoking.
realize is
just from
so the
everything.
jumps are essentially Supercross spec jumps, but you're carrying quite a few miles an hour more.
Yeah.
So like everything comes at you a little bit faster, and everything seems just different. And then you add to the fact that I hadn't rode a two-stroke in 10 plus years, and everything felt real weird. And so I was feeling it out. And anyway, it was just a real simple, like it was a 3.53, and I just jumped in and like jumped into the pocket to jump the next 3.53, and I just went too much. Like I went too long and landed like weird, just perfectly like front and rear in the middle of the transition, and I think it just both bottomed, and my ankle just broke. I kind of like it was really not a big deal. Like I landed, and I kind of like I knew I was going long, and just kind of went long, and then I went double, and I'm like, oh, dude, something doesn't feel right.
Something's broken again.
Yeah. And then I went back, and I'm like, dude, I think I just broke my ankle. And Ellie's like, you break your ankle, like you get back out there. And so I go do another run. I'm like, no, it really hurts. Like I actually think it's broken. And then by then I went back and I took my boot off, and as soon as I took my boot off, I couldn't even put weight on it. Yeah. And and then I'm like hopping around, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to go to the hospital. And she's just like, are you serious? Because it was our anniversary weekend. We were in California, and like staying in a real nice hotel. It was like supposed to be really
fun
a trip
weekend
away with the two of us, but then we're gonna race this race on the Saturday, and then so that was we spent the Friday night at the hospital, and she was not happy.
Happy anniversary,
but
babe.
Anyway, long story short,
well, I was really bummed because your bike was badass,
dude. And my bike was really badass. It was legit. Like it was like I built the steel frame 04 bike with, and it had my actual 05, like the good 05 engine in it. So it was kind of like that. It was almost like the 15 years past its use by date, but like building, what my best bike would be as far as like the steel chassis, but then our 05 engine was really good. Yeah. So like combining all that, weird story, but like at the end of 04, no, it wasn't 04, at the end of Had to have been 04 actually. End of 04. So like you go through the typical like September, October, November testing period. You figure out your new spec bike. And then I went and did a couple of races in Australia, and I spent time down there. And so I was, they shipped 2 bikes down there. And actually, I think back in those days, they just shipped, for some reason, it was engine, swing arm, which why they sent a swing arm, I don't know. What else? And then obviously suspension. And that was really all you needed. You could just use a production frame because they were production back then. And then you just go racing. And I had a practice bike, race bike. Anyway, we shipped them all back, and then like one crate got sent back to Australia. And then I'd already come back to America. My parents kind of like just took it. It was at my parents' house. And then like one thing led to another. By the time I wasn't going to go back there for 1 year, well, then we'd switch to 4-stroke. And then literally, so then I ended up with a full factory, set of suspension and an engine in Australia. So then one of the years I basically, I brung back the engine, and I'm like, I'm going to build this thing up, And at that point, I think Yamaha had even forgot about it. They'd already thrown their 2-stroke stuff away. And it was actually one of those, like a general mistake that turned out to be awesome because I got to build myself a factory, Yamaha 250 2-stroke.
You still have that thing?
Yeah, I still have it. Yeah. And now, at that point, like when I raced straight rhythm, it was all white and just boost mobile. But now it's my replica bike. Yeah. It's blue. It's like as my bike was in 2004.
That's cool. So going into that season, did that screw you up season, with that ankle?
So at that point, like I'd already made the decision like that week to ride a Husky. I'd already like talked to Ian. Ian was going to do a certain part. We were leasing some parts. Again, we're leasing ECU. I think some cam and some other engine parts and bits and pieces, some brakes, some clutch and things like that. So that was already kind of like in the works. We were making that work, and then I broke my ankle. And then I'd already sold sponsorship, like Boost Mobile had already committed. Speed Zone, Dustin Farthing had already committed to going racing with us. And so kind of like I was pup committed at that point, like I felt bad. And I hadn't even, like the week before Anaheim, I only just started walking.
I remember. I think I talked to you at A1.
And so dude, I hadn't done anything in 8 weeks or whatever it was, 5-6 weeks maybe. Actually, I think it was 6 weeks or 7 weeks. And I got the sign off for the doctor to start walking and then actually riding. And I didn't know that he really knew what riding meant, like I think he was like, yeah, let's go just start riding on the field. But so I literally like zero testing. Goose built me a bike on New Year's Eve or something like that. I rode it around the Supercross track at home. Didn't even jump the triple because my ankle hurt so much. And I'm like, yep, all right, put it on the truck, send it to California. Like I'll see you guys in a week. And yeah, that was it. That was the story, and the fact that just so underprepared, overweight, out of shape,
just chasing your tail.
Just chase my tail. At no point in the season was I worth a crap, or I should never been on the starting line. What's up? Quick.
He's helmeted up.
Excuse me, Dad. Please, yeah, you know what that means. It's BMX time. And so, really, yeah, just one of those years that was so challenging. Everyone was like, oh, he's not gelling with the KTM and the Husky. It had nothing to do with that. Just, dude, so not in a good space. So got through Supercross. I made it to every main event. I did a way more last chance than I ever wanted to do in my life. And then, took the summer off, And then, like my goal was like, dude, I can't go out like that. It's not okay. And so I just started riding and training, and I actually just bought a Honda. I think I was riding a Honda, and was, simply just riding around, doing some riding. And then I got a random call from J-Bone, and he's like, hey, I didn't even know who got hurt, but somebody got hurt. Will you come and race? It was actually Budds Creek, which was like literally, this is on a Wednesday, will you race on Saturday? And I'm like, I haven't rode the bike. I am not ready. Like, I've been riding and training, but I am not in race shape at all, And he's like, will you do it? Come on, man, just do it. And I'm like, I will get on a plane. I'll come to Charlotte and I will ride the bike, and I will think about doing the last race, which was Indiana.
Yeah.
And so we went up there. I was really surprised. The bike was really quite nice. It was kind of like your typical Suzuki, just really fun to ride. You know, and then he's just like, at that point, he wanted me to commit, and I'm like, dude, if you really want me to race it, let me take it to Florida, and I'll just ride all next week, or I'll ride over the weekend, and then you guys go to Budds Creek, and then I will try to be as prepared as I can for next weekend. And so he let me take the bike. You know, no agreements, no handshakes, just like, hey, just be good with it, be kind with it, don't get it stolen. And so I went to Florida, did some riding with Kenny, and I was considerably a lot closer to Kenny and Chase than what I was on the production Honda.
Are we going to be nuts?
Yes. And so I just felt like, okay, I could do this, you know, like I'll whatever. And then you start looking at the weather, it looks like it's gonna be muddy, and I'm like, yes, it's gonna be muddy. I'm like, this is gonna be great.
The great
anyway,
equalizer.
I qualified quite well. I think I qualified 7th. You know, and then for the surprise to me was the driest, straightest line of the first turn. Nobody took it. I took it, whole shot it almost. And then the real big surprise to me was the second race. Nobody took it again, and I'm like, this is amazing. And whole shot at that one, led a couple of laps, or maybe didn't, I don't know, maybe I was second or whatever, but I was up there, crashed lap 2, 3, went back, and then I had to come back. I think I went 5.8 for 5th overall, maybe.
I'm sure they were pumped.
It was impressive.
And I think that they were, you know, like typical, like it was really like at that point you kind of acknowledge like this is my last national. Like, yeah, I don't have the desire to do nationals anymore. The fans like were super into it. They cheered me the whole way. I was somewhat competitive considering the amount of effort that I'd put in and how much I'd rode the bike. So at that point, like I acknowledged, like, dude, I feel good about going out on outdoors like that. Coming off the couch, riding for a team and a bike that I don't really know, and being 5th overall, I think I was. I'm good. I can swallow that, you know.
So
and then so that's that, and then that really was it, you know. But they let me keep the bike. I think that they noticed and realized how much exposure they got with me riding the bike. You know, so then that dug up old conversations. I had conversations with Discount Tire. Unfortunately, I think the Penske and NASCAR and then the JGR NASCAR was too close. So then I think that relationship was never going to work because of the connections on the NASCAR side of things. So then it'd be seen as, you know, Discount Tire going with JGR when unfortunately they're very heavily invested in the Penske organization. So I think that hurt us a little bit. So yeah, I mean,
so you did want to go to JGR for the next year?
I did want to go to JGR, and I enjoyed my time there. Like I said, they were super cool to me. I loved the atmosphere of the team. One thing led to another. Like I said, they let me keep the bike. Then the Japanese were coming. We were having like behind closed doors on the phone and everything like that. We were having a lot of conversations about me. How do I come on race on the team? Because they'd already signed Weston and I think Hill, so they already had their team, you know, and a team that was already struggling with sponsorship didn't have the budget to take on me. Yeah. So I was having to play a big role on trying to go find sponsors and money and all these kinds of things. But the cool thing is they let me keep the bike, let me ride. The conversation was ongoing. I didn't really want to go anywhere. They seemingly wanted to try to make it work. So then they let me be a big part of the test. The Japanese came over, and then I was a big part of the Supercross test. And so I essentially got to test and set up a factory Suzuki for myself, plus test a bunch of parts. And it'd been a long time since I'd worked with the Japanese, so it was really fun. It kind of felt fresh for me. And then again, I started then spending more time up here. They did an off-season deal with me where they said, okay, we'll get you your practice bike and your test bike. You ride it here. You don't get to take it to Florida. So come and ride it here. You can ride our facility, and we'll ship you a bike, and we'll send Ben with you to Australia. And so we did that. It was successful. It was, I did good, and I won, I think, one of the 2 races that we did down there in New Zealand and Australia. And then unfortunately, honestly, something that you'd never wish on anyone, but Weston got hurt in Paris, and I inherited, the position there. But it wasn't like I inherited that. It wasn't like, oh yeah, Weston's hurt, we're going to take on you. Weston was hurt in such a bad way that the team was super rad, in my opinion, in the fact that they were still paying him. It wasn't like they were like, oh yeah, he's injured, we're not going to pay him. Like they were fully paying him, to my understanding, and doing their end of the bargain on that. So it wasn't like it freed up money, so that we still had to basically, like, I was on the fence of like, okay, Weston's out and they need a rider, but we still don't necessarily fix the problem that we don't have money. And then right before Anaheim, we figured something out and made it worthwhile, and it was great. It was really awesome. Like, I really enjoyed the team. Like I said, it got me out of Florida, moved the whole family to North Carolina, and it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made. They're lifelong friends, Coy, J-Bone, the whole team. Like, I love those guys, and I'm now living just down the road from them. So it's kind of one of those things that worked out real good. Though I'm not on the team because it didn't make sense from sponsorship and all that kind of stuff. But not bitter at all. Like, it was a mutual decision that it wasn't the best thing for me to continue there, because I had, some sponsorships and some opportunities, that I had to take advantage of, elsewhere.
Yeah, makes sense. So this final season was meant to be kind of a farewell tour for you, and it didn't really play out, obviously, the way you'd hoped, having fans there and being able to interact with people. So much so that there was chatter about you even coming back for 21 for a handful of races. Is that still something you're kicking around?
So, I would say that, to start off, I got hurt in Paris. I'd been working pretty hard. Felt like I was in decent shape to come into this season in 2020, with a pretty decent head of steam, and actually try to go out on a high. I left for Anaheim 1 in 2019, and I walked out the door, and I actually, I was so emotional. Ellie wasn't going. It had been weighing on me. I felt like it was a conversation that I had a million times in my own head, but I hadn't had it with anyone, not even my own wife. And I just lost it. I literally broke down as I was walking to the car, and I said, I'm going to my final Anaheim. I don't know that I want to do this anymore, And that was already the year before. And I would say I had way more fun than I expected. I was starting to become more competitive, and I really enjoyed being a factory rider again, and just solely being able to put effort in with the team and your own riding, your own training, all these kinds of things. And I felt like I got to the point where I was on the podium in 2019 at 37 years old. And so for me, it was like, I felt rejuvenated and I had fun. And then it all got cut short with my crash and getting hurt in Seattle. So I'm like, I don't want to go out like that, I actually was having fun. Yeah. And then it kind of was like that one thing where it was like, I was having fun, I was enjoying the team. Then the team encountered sponsorship problems, and what I was enjoying, wasn't really going to happen there. So then it was just like one thing led to another, and then it felt sketchy again. I'm like, fuck, I'm over this. I just want to be the rider. And then I had to kind of create my own stuff again. And anyway, so coming into the year, it sucked because I was so hurt. I had back-to-back broken ribs. I was really struggling with just being able to take on my lungs. I honestly can say I've never in my life struggled from a cardiovascular side of things, but I just struggled. I felt like I was breathing through a straw at all times. And you both know that's no fun to race Supercross, breathing through a straw. And so when COVID happened, it was kind of fun. I actually got to be okay, and I kind of stepped away and I didn't necessarily ride. My body just started healing. It started getting better. I dug in. Ellie and I, typical, the rest of the world, the gym's all closed. We built a gym here at the house. I was back on the skier. I was back on the, stationary bicycle. I was lifting. And then just my body and everything started to feel more normal. And I felt like I was so much more prepared as far as I would say that there's a level, there's racing fitness. And then there's like, okay, I'm pretty fit as a human. Like I could go ride my bicycle 100 miles with whoever, and I could deal with some sprints and whatever else. I won't get dropped. But then there's like that racing level, and it's just like that racing level is a big jump, and it's hard.
Yeah.
And it takes a certain amount of effort that you put in. And I never got to put that effort in. Because we weren't going racing until October, you know?
Yeah.
So I felt like my body got all good and healthy, and I was fit. I was in good shape. My race weight was back. But I wasn't like, I never got to put that like high output that you like, you know, when the gate drops and you just throw down and you're like, it's just, you feel badass. I didn't get to do that. And I felt like that's what I lacked in Salt Lake. So Salt Lake, it was kind of like, I felt like I had more to give. I was more in shape. The bike was a little better. But then I still like, you still feel like there was a little meat on the bone that you weren't able to get after, you know? So, and then of course no fans and stuff, but like, I'm going back and forth, but like, I feel like the beginning of the season, I was hurt and I said, this is it. I'm going out and I want to say, give my appreciation. And I gave my everything to the fans to the point where I was exhausted by the races, you know. I signed more autographs than I'd ever signed. I stood up at the side of the tent more than I ever have. I cared less about the lap time than I ever had. I cared because the lap time wasn't there because I didn't feel good. I was hurt. I wasn't in great shape. So all these kinds of things, I'm like, you know what, screw that. The racing is what it is. As long as I make the main event somehow, I'll be fine. You know, but the fans, I really want to give my appreciation. And then when we came back and there was no fans, it gave me the opportunity. I experienced a lot. Maybe I didn't get to sign off on it and say thank you to every stadium, but I really felt good about what I got to do and the appreciation that they showed. And then I felt like my appreciation back to them I showed. Salt Lake gave me that opportunity where we had a blacked out tent. You know, there was nobody in the pits, and it was just me, Ellie, Ben, and Dan, and we just like it kind of like I got to go and have fun on my motorcycle. I wasn't getting pulled here and here. I didn't have to think about this and that.
Yeah.
It was back to looking at the lap time and trying to dissect how can I go faster and do better things. And though the result wasn't great, and I don't think it was anything to call home about, but it got better race by race, and I finished in the top 10 in the last race. But it was like I really got to experience something in a different way. So for me, I feel fully complete. Like I actually do. I do have some rumblings of like it'd be cool to come back and do one, but I don't know that I have it in me to come back because I do. I feel okay. Like I actually feel completely at ease of who I am and what I achieved. And I think that when you get to that point, it's hard because now there's, you know, what's the motivation? Because I was always motivated by just being good and being competitive and proving people wrong or me right, however way you want to do it. And like, I don't necessarily have that burning desire. So I'll check back in January and tell you if I have that same burning desire. But because everybody wants to know, okay, what now? Like, do you feel anything? And I honestly don't, because for the past 7 or 8 years, I have not raced motocross. So May through September is my time where I get to spend it with my family. We get to go on the boat and I don't ride motorcycles. Like I've rode my motorcycle once since June and I don't miss it right this second. Yeah. But when the weather's starting to cool and I'm like, it'd be fun to go ride Supercross, you know? And so I think that November through January block of that training that you do, that's when it gets real for me, I think, is when I'm like, okay, now I miss it because I know that's my go time and now isn't. And, you know, Monster Cup's already canceled, so that's not even on your mind of like, oh, potentially I could do Monster Cup. So it's like, I don't know, like I feel normal, but I at some point it's a given that I'm going to be like, oh, I miss it. You know? Oh, and for sure. When I miss it, I want to feel like, do I just miss it and I'm like bummed that I can't race, or do I miss it and I'm motivated to want to get back in shape and go race a race?
It's different.
And honestly, if I have the motivation and I have that desire to want to go race a race, I'll race a race. You know, like I'm not scared to put the work and effort in to do it. You know, like I'll do it. But at this point, I don't have the burning desire to get back out there and do it.
Yeah. Is there anything you're looking at? I know obviously you've been into the cars. You've been working with Lamborghini on some of that series, doing a lot of the iRacing stuff right now. Is that something you still want to hope to get into, car racing?
Yeah, I want to go car racing. It just right now, like, it's a very heavily driver funded thing. And for me, going and dealing with the restrictions that the world has and the social distancing and the mask and all the other stuff that goes along with it, like for me, you go spend money on doing something that's fun because you want to go have fun, you know? And for me, going and doing all that, you're sucking all the fun out of it.
Right.
So why do it? Yeah. So for 2020, I'm stepping away. I'm not doing any of that stuff. And honestly, it's opened the door. My kids love BMX. We're fully committed to that at this point. So who knows, you know, like at some point, and like I said on the TV at Vegas, it's time to go be a dad, you know, like I actually want to be a dad. I think it's something that I massively admire of being a dad and being a parent and what my family did. You know, my family and I don't necessarily talk. I don't necessarily agree with everything they do, but I love them to death. And what they did for me as a child is unbelievable. And the commitment that they have, like just the 12 weeks that I've been going BMX riding and the training and the riding and the repetitiveness of that, it's, you know, to think of my dad getting up and concreting, doing one of the worst jobs in the world, and then still taking me riding and doing those things all weekend, and then, you know, getting home at all hours of Sunday night, and then getting up at 5 a.m. and going and doing these normal Friday to, or, you know, should I say Monday to Friday job. I have nothing but respect for my dad and my family. It's what happened at a later, you know, stage of my life that I hate what they did. But as a family, like I want to be as committed to my kids as what my parents were to me. And that's, I think that you can only give them the tools, you know, what they choose to do with it is what they choose to do with it. Yeah. But definitely I just want to be a good dad. And if this is the next thing for me, I will say that we did our first national a couple of weeks ago. And I will say that taking your kids down, I've experienced a lot in life as far as the wins, the highs, the championships. I will put that taking your kids down, putting them in the chute, and walking away and saying, hey, go get them. The emotion and the lump that you had in my throat was far greater than anything that I personally have ever achieved. And so for me, it shows you that there's more to life than just your own shit that you've done. And though that's, you know, shaped me and it's made me who I am today, but like, it kind of gave me hope that like, I don't necessarily have to go drive a car next year, you know, or go race a Supercross race. Like what I got out of seeing my kids at their first national ever in the novice class, making the main events was really cool, you know? And I never expected that, you know, like I kind of was like, I don't know, like, but I walked away and it got me. Like, I was like, I had those good feels and I was like, come on, man, like get it. And it's like, so that's my commitment right now is to my kids. Like I have many business things that I'm working on and things like that. But those things just pay the bills, you know, they pay the bills. You know, I have huge aspirations. I want a plane. I want a beach house. You know, those things are big business things, multi-million dollar, you know, things. And that's all in the works. That's all in the plan. But right now, Monday through Friday and on the weekends, I want to spend it with my kids, you know, seeing what they want to do with life. You know?
Well, I think a big part of being a good husband and being a good dad is you've got to get rid of the selfish nature that as racers we all have. Because for our whole careers, it's about me. No, I got to do this. This is what I'm doing. I need, you know what I mean?
They revolve around us.
Yeah, and once that stops and you go, okay, you know, it's about you guys now. Yeah. Like you said, that fulfillment's there.
Huge kudos to Ellie. You know, I think that through all, let's say the last 5 years where it's really been at any point you could have walked away and you were fine, right? And the fact that she was fully committed and allowed and created that space for me to be selfish and go and chase the dream. It's really awesome now to be chasing a different dream, but together as always, and then like doing it with the kids. So that's been fun. I think she's enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. And it's just, we'll see what comes of it.
It's the next chapter in life.
Yeah,
Next chapter.
That's badass. Well,
that's another 3 episodes.
Yeah, we're gonna have to book some more time for that one. I'm pulling for you on the car thing just because I've never seen anybody make a really successful jump. From motocross.
Yeah, I mean, other than Wardy was obviously pretty successful at it, but it's been challenging. Other than that,
but even the money. It's like you said, you've got to bring the money as a driver. It's not
you
like
have to bring
in our
the money
sport
as a
where,
driver, and so we'll see. Lamborghini has been really cool. The conversations there are ongoing. I've been working with some other manufacturers, so I'm hopeful that we can figure something out. Where I do get to go play in a race car, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It's as a 38-year-old, 39 next year. Like, you're not high on the list of like, we need this guy in a car.
Yeah.
But the difference is that world. That you're dealing with businessmen, always. Like, you're actually dealing with high quality business people. And so they see a benefit to certain things that you can bring to the table, opposed to like a 16-year-old kid that may or may not make it in the world, in the driving world. So we'll see what happens. At this point, like I said, I feel the best thing is I feel okay with however it works out. Like, whatever's supposed to work out and however it's supposed to be is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I'm excited that, the passion that I see in my kids and how much they love BMX, it just brings back a lot of cool memories for me, and being at the track and everything like that. Racing, in my opinion, teaches people something that the world cannot teach you.
For sure.
I think it prepares you for the world in a way that other sports can't. So for my 3 children to be, loving and enjoying racing, even the ups and downs that we've encountered in the 12 weeks that we've been doing this, I already see a difference in how they encounter life and how they take on different things. So I'm just happy that we're experiencing that. I don't care if it's 2 wheels, 4 wheels, dirt, road, BMX, no engine, like whatever. Racing, in my opinion, is something that all humans should encounter.
I agree. Let me ask you this. I know V8 Supercars, you've talked about how you really followed that and liked that. If you got an opportunity to go back to Australia and do that, would you do it?
It wouldn't happen. It's the rules are so challenging. The restrictions on testing and all those things. If they're such a unique car, you'd have to be in the car all the time to make a real shot at it. Jumping in a GT3 car that has ABS brakes, traction control and all these kinds of things. These are things that you can overcome, and narrow the learning experience down. When you start jumping into a big, heavy, under brake, under aero, under tire car that is just a unique beast to drive. Some of the best drivers in the world jump in this thing and they look average. It's not something that I don't have a burning driving. It's a blast, but actually going and doing it, you just the learning curve, I think, would be too gnarly, and I don't have a desire for that at this point in my life.
So I want to get you out the door. I know you guys are waiting to go BMX, and so first of all, I want to say thanks for all your time, man. I know it's taken three runs to get through this, but you just had so much shit to say, and it's been awesome listening to it. Kind of a last question we asked everybody is, how do you want to be remembered by people of this sport?
Yeah, man, I've been asked that question so many times, like with this.
It's hard, isn't it?
And I'm a believer that you don't get to claim what you want to be remembered as. I feel like that you earn that. So however people remember me, good, bad, ugly, brave, not brave, pussy, not pussy, you're like, whatever. It is what it is. Yeah. And maybe when you're younger in your career, you kind of like, you leave it with the chip on your shoulder sometimes, I think. You still think, I feel completely at ease of what I got to achieve, Did I achieve everything I wanted? No. But am I happy, with the numbers that I leave behind? I actually feel quite good and okay with who I am and what I achieved and the way I did it. I would say I don't care what people remember me as or what they claim. For me, what makes me proud of my career is I always did it my way. I left Australia with no blessing of my family, of how I was going to do it. And from the second I made a decision to take off overseas and take on my dream, it was an uphill battle, you know, with no support from your family, to going and achieving. Living in Europe is challenging, and it was a blast. It was something that made me a better person. I got second in the 250 World Championship on my first year. I came here. I won 6 of 7 races in the lights class. I won, you know, the most races in my rookie season on the 252 stroke. I won the very next year. I had more starts than anyone. I don't have the wins that I wanted. I don't have the titles that I wanted, but shit, that's life, you know? But I have the experience and the ups and the downs that made me who I am. And through it all, I really did it my way, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I had an agent the whole time, and most of the time I disagreed and I just did it my way, and he hated it. But I really did, like, I gave it thought. I made decisions that were best for me right then and right there. I didn't think about 2 years down the line, oh, if I stay here, then this manufacturer will have my back and I'll be a lifer. It didn't matter about that. I wanted to win, and I wanted to win then and there. And whatever I had to do to win in there or put myself in a position to compete at that level, I made those decisions. That's what makes me proud of what I achieved, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't spoon-fed. I didn't do it, you know, I didn't get it all handed to me. When people saw me complaining and, you know, being not happy at a place, then I created my own place and my own happy, with my own money, and nobody can take that from you, you know? That's, at the end of the day, I feel good about it. And I love the sport, you know, like I'm leaving the sport that I love, and I'm excited to see who and what happens next. And I may or may not be a big part of that. Who knows?
Yeah.
So,
Well,
time will tell.
I can just say whether or not you come back and race, you know, I don't think it matters in terms of your legacy, but I hope that you find something to do in the sport again. Something that you love.
And I want to do that.
You know.
And there's conversations that will likely see me within sport next year. We'll see. You know, like I'm excited. Like I said, like I feel complete. I feel excited to. I want to be if I was to do something, it's not like you just want to come in. Like, I always want to be a part of the puzzle. You know, how can I help somebody be a part of something great? You know, how can I contribute to a team or a rider or a series? How can you contribute to actually making it better as a whole? Not just selfishly coming in and, you know, wanting to do this, and this. It's just like, that's my biggest goal, is to, you know, make something a little bit more complete and be a piece of the puzzle.
That's awesome. Well, I hope you find it. And if you're not going to say what you want people to remember you by, I'm just going to tell you, I think you're one of the grittiest, most headstrong dudes I've ever seen in this sport. And it's been super fun to watch your career, man. So congrats. Just thank you so much for coming on.
Glad to see you're at least healthy at this point. That's first prize, and you have options. So it'll be exciting to see what the future brings.
Yeah.
It is. It'll be, I mean, you guys have been retired for a while now. There's plenty of life after racing. So,
for sure. It's a lot.
You know, you know, racing's always fun, and it's always hard to walk away from. But I think that, you know, in my case, I wrung it dry.
Yes,
I rode it to the end, and it was a lot of fun. I loved it, and it's time to do something different.
You
like
ran it out of gas and laid it down out in the field by your house in Australia. Walked home.
It was just mic drop at that point. You know, 265 races. Good luck, people. Get after it.
That's crazy.
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much
guys.
again, Reedy. We appreciate it. We'll see you soon, man.
Hey, thank you.
All right.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, bud.
Later, boys.
At Nihilo Concepts, we have a passion for innovation and for motocross. Our mission is to develop parts that will improve the durability, functionality, and the appearance of your motorcycle. We're proud to say that everything from Nihilo is made in the USA in our state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Stuart, Florida. Whether you race every weekend or you just ride for fun, Nihilo offers high-quality, innovative parts that you just won't find anywhere else. Nihilo offers custom engraved engine covers, one-piece titanium foot pegs, brake tips, internal engine components, specialty tools, frame grip tape, carbon fiber components, and so much more. Check out our website, nihiloconcepts.com, and see for yourself why teams like Red Bull KTM, Rockstar Husqvarna, Troy Lee Designs, and some of the fastest riders in the world choose Nihilo Concepts. nihiloconcepts.com.
Let's do this right. Go slow out of moonlight, it's still shining. One day I'ma let go, yeah. One day I'ma let go. Everyone's using me, but maybe that's something I like. Yeah, I've been on something since last month, but I'm feeling alright. Maybe I'm blind to see, maybe I'm losing my mind. So I've been on something since last month, but I don't feel alright. It's me against myself, it's me against myself. I'm starting to back out, yeah. I'm staring at the stars. Running from myself, I'm running from myself. I'm starting to back out, yeah. I'm staring at the stars. Oh yeah,
Welcome back, everybody. That was our third and final episode, Chad Reed, and it took us a long time to get all three of those done, but some logistical challenges. This kid's had nationals going on with BMX. We've all got jobs and different things going on, so it took a while to get through all three of those, but man, what a story.
Well, I think what it is with Chad is, a lot of athletes, they can tell you this story about, I went through the amateur ranks and I raced pro and I won these events. He's one of those unique characters that's been around the world, did GPs, came here, had his own team, went to another factory team, kind of did his own thing. I mean, he really has, when you look at it, like he said, he did it his way.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a good way to describe it. But just, he's been involved in so much, whether, like he said, it's trying to get outside industry sponsors to be in the sport, not just for a short period of time, but maybe long term. Then you realize there's politics, you realize there's a whole nother side from being on the other side of the fence. I think Chad will be one of the first to admit that in the beginning he may not have been the greatest with fans. Maybe not spending the time that he needed to.
He was a Vegemite eating asshole, remember?
Exactly. And but I think with anything, like we always said, you're so self-indulged in what you got to do, and then you become a team owner, and you go, it's about the fans, it's about the sponsors, about all these other things. So I just think his story is pretty unique and interesting, and one of the reasons it took three attempts.
Super intelligent too. I mean, you see how much he thinks about everything.
He's very contemplative.
Yeah.
Every single move he makes is strategic. He's thought it out. You know what I mean? And
he reflects back on that was good, that was bad.
Yeah.
He'll be the first to say that was a real screw up on that one. But hey, you got to make your own mistakes at some point.
I just really, there was a couple things I took away out of this show. One is, it's frustrating to me when he comes on and says, we have these limiting factors in our sport, and I don't know that we'll ever get past them. And I think, wow, that's a bummer. You know what I mean? And this is a guy, you're not going to know.
He's seen it from all angles,
He's seen it is from inside of, the ugly guts of this thing. And so, God, you just hope that promoters are listening and they take some of that to heart and go, well, okay, maybe if we did give up a little, we could grow more and have a net bigger.
Be a team. Because I feel that's the problem is when you got money, companies with money, I'm just going to use a Red Bull or a Monster. You don't think that every single race team in every country is not hitting those guys up.
Right.
You can only suck up so much, and even if they do have the money, it doesn't make sense for them to sponsor everyone.
I think some of this, I'm going to say something crazy. I don't think it's always out of greed either. I think it's out of fear of letting go control and letting go of these things.
There is something to be said about that.
They're like, well, if I let go of this now, how's this going to affect us later? And control-wise, we give more control to somebody, they steer their destiny a little more. Then these promoters and other people can't.
It's like I said, they're squeezing the puppy too tight.
Yeah, it's a great analogy.
They're going to kill it.
Because you squeeze my puppy, you're going to be in big trouble.
We are talking about your dog, right?
Yeah, we're talking about my dog.
Okay, just
look at her. She's over there just sleeping.
Snoring.
She snores.
I do hope that Chad comes back in some capacity because he has such a well-rounded view of the sport. He knows how things work.
He can bring value to the sport.
He's such a huge fan favorite now worldwide. You know what I mean? He's a global. If he wanted to be,
we didn't even talk much about basically promoting races in Australia and things like. So he's had his finger in a bunch of these.
We can't do another 6-hour show, GL.
We can do a post-retirement show in a couple of years.
He just has so much information that it's hard to, dial all of it down to what he's done.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, anyway, I hope he's back.
He'll be.
What an incredible career.
If there's one thing he could probably tell you, I'm a little burnt out. I'm tired of the politics. This blah 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 blah. Like you said, this little window, a couple months, gives him time to reflect and that, and all of a sudden it's like he's involved in AMA, that's heavily involved in the sport, which will probably get more involved. He's got ties in whether it's Boost Mobile or these. He's got, when you just know someone's got enough fingers in different pies that one of those or a couple of those are going to go, yeah, that makes sense. Well, that will lead to that, which will lead to that. Yeah. So I got a feeling we'll see him around.
And a guy on his level, though, he's done everything in the sport you can do. I mean, just about. And what he's saying is super accurate. You don't want to come in like at a mid-level type of a situation where he wants
to come in and do something profound. He doesn't want to just, prep goggles for guys or, he's not doing that.
That's fun, man.
The one thing that disappointed me was I was kind of alluding, and I didn't even say the word union, but the sport needs a figure that all of the teams believe in and trust that would, if shake his hand and give him their word that they would all be a team.
Somebody would always sideline that, though.
Dude, you're farting against thunder on that one.
It's just
you're just wasting your fucking time.
If GL's aunt was his uncle, she'd have balls.
I'm not even a huge union guy. It doesn't have to be a union. Just somebody that can speak for the teams and riders.
You're in a union.
I understand that I am, but I'm not a huge union guy. They're good in small spaces, but I'm just saying, right now, the promoters, like he said, Feld makes the rules in Supercross.
Yeah.
AMA, okay.
We know all that.
Here's the flags. You just wave those, but we're going to tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
And they do the same with the riders. At the end of the day, it's at their discretion. If they want to just eliminate the purse, they could do it.
It's sad, like, hearing what Carey Hart was saying and them, like, not showing sponsors and realizing, going back to it, it's like, this is the limiting factors, and they're limiting it for themselves. They don't even realize it.
Even a ticker across the bottom for the podium seat. If you wanted to go up tight, if they said, okay, we're trying to get the emotion on your face and capture it, okay, then give us a band across the bottom with this rider's sponsors scrolling across.
Listen, they do it in Formula One.
Yeah.
You have a block of sponsors over the rider next to him. I mean, there's a lot of single shots. You could have the sponsors above the rider when they're going by. You would be able to see them easily.
Yeah.
They do it in graphics all the time. And it would help, like you're saying, at NASCAR.
If you really, if they wanted to do that, there's actually several ways that
easily to do it. Yeah.
Make it better.
So like I said, he is the perfect guy to go push that. Push those kind of changes. And if he's saying, not me.
He's been around the block enough. Yeah.
Oh, well. Anyway, awesome show.
It was. So before we head on out of here, we got to thank some people. Yamaha, obviously, for what they do. And if you're interested, the new 2021 YZ250Fs that now have all the upgrades, and they've got the like the 450 where you can do the Wi-Fi. It's pretty neat. If you go look at it, one of the features I really love is you can set up all these different parameters. It can tell you when your oil needs changing. It can tell you a lot of information. All you have to do is go and click in, and it'll remind you where you rode. If you want to change some stuff, it knows what you've done. You can go back and go, oh, it's like having an assistant or a mechanic for your bike. It won't work on your bike for you, but it'll tell you when you need to get it done.
Yeah, you can plug suspension settings, like all your settings, into the notes so that for a particular track.
You can design a map and text it to your buddy, and he can enter it into his bike.
Yeah.
So
Yamaha has all kinds of stuff if you're buying. They've got off-road and street side or adventure side. You can go do a Yamaha demo day.
Yep.
So before you ride one, you can go try it. There's in your area. They bring them all over the country. They've got all the GYTR parts book. Yamalube if you're looking for oils. They've got the the mapping where you can plug in there. And Travis Preston and those guys always put together some really good maps. There's a new one out for the 450. They call it the Magic Map. So if you go onto Yamaha's website, you can look at that.
It's too fast for me.
No, the Magic Map's mellow.
The last one he did, I was like, dude.
TP1 or
if I was racing, this thing is great, but ripping my arms out of the socket.
That's why I went with this other one. It's just very linear and mellow. So anyway, I would recommend that. But Yamaha has all kinds of really cool programs. And the Blue Crew, if you're going to amateur, if you're actually competitively amateur racing, they've got staff there to help with broken parts and support. So Yamaha's got a really well-rounded program going on.
Even things like their own finance company now. So you get your Yamaha card, and it makes life a lot easier. Anyway, check them out. They've always got new products coming out, and Yamaha just the leader in the power sport industry. PowerDot, Peng alluded to it earlier. It does a lot. Pretty cool device. Small. You can take it. It can actually fit in your pocket, your front pocket. It does a lot of things from recovery to just a nice massage to relax, get that tension out of your neck. Go to their website, enter Whiskey Throttle get 20% off. No spaces, just one word, no caps. Same thing with Method race wheels, the lightest, fastest, strongest wheels around. I actually was just covering a Lucas Oil Best in the Desert event, and guess who dominated in the trucks and buggies? Method, you guessed it, just dominating out there. Troy Lee Designs, always coming out with new great stuff. I know we had a really killer year with TLD from the swag, their licensed stuff with Yamaha, Honda, KTM. I mean, they just make so much cool stuff for on the track as well as just around the pits, whether it's umbrellas or, like I said, you go and look, you're like, man, they make a lot of cool stuff.
They also have a full line of Yamaha licensed gear,
Yep.
so riding gear,
Honda.
T-shirts.
Their teamwear stuff, their TLD, KTM race team stuff is pretty cool. It's a very hot seller, so always got cool stuff there.
Soon to be TLD Can-Am.
Yeah.
Or Gas, not Can-Am.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah, well.
Maybe the off-road team.
KTM will buy that too.
SKDA, they're going to have a ping graphic. I'm excited to see that one.
Yeah, ooh, it's going to look good. You know, I took it off a Formula One car.
Oh, really?
I said, this is a livery I like. Let's build something
Massage
around
this.
this. Yeah. It's going to look good.
Well, they have a GL graphic, and call me biased, but I think it's off the charts. So check that one out. It's really neat. Dunlop, they just make the best tires, period. Pings talks about his combo. At the races, you heard, especially at Redbud, you saw a lot of the teams and riders going between the scoop and the intermediate. They really do have tires for all kinds of conditions, and then, of course, your happy medium. So if you're someone that's really, really wants to push the envelope, try a hard pack tire at a hard track and then switch it out to a soft tire at a softer track. You'll see the performance difference. If you're someone like me that's just too lazy to do that, get the nice happy medium. They really are good, the intermediates. Adidas, don't be a dick to your feet. Put some good shoes on there. And if you're like any of us retired folk who are a little stiff and sore, you can't wear these kid skater shoes and all these other brands. So put something good on. Pro Circuit, they race, they win. They're having a good season. In fact, Adam Cincerello, still a Pro Circuit rider. Got his first win of the season. Congrats to him. Nahila Concepts, always coming out with new, cool, innovative stuff. This company is always just finding these little niches in our industry, and they find a way to make it just bigger, better, and cooler. And into Whiskey Throttle, you'll get a gift. I don't know what it is, but I heard it's pretty cool. Seat Concepts, most comfortable seat. Don't be a dick to your ass. Make sure you put your ass in something comfortable. And they do really have everything that you could ever want. It's like the lazy boy for your dirt bike or your street bike or your snowmobile, your side by side, whatever. They've got something. Fire Department Coffee. Fire Department Coffee. They just make good stuff. It really is. I mean, as Ping said, we all drink coffee. Support the people that support the industry. It was built by firefighters. They help out firefighters, and obviously with Ping's connection, they've now gotten involved in moto. So the more coffee you buy using the code Whiskey Throttle, like I do, the more they go, moto's a place to be. So support those guys. They do a lot of cool stuff, and then, like I said, the coffee is fantastic. Specialized, they're getting bikes back in stock after this whole COVID situation. They sold everything they ever had. No surprise there. Everyone went to go buy Specialized, but they're getting back in stock. They got new models. They've had some price reductions on certain models, so check it out. Really cool stuff. OGO, the best bag. It's been the only bag in the industry, really. Since I moved here, that's all I've ever used. And there's no reason to change. And, of course, they're fully invested in our sport. And then Paleo Ranch Foods, make some good tasty stuff right there. And Langston Motorsports, where you can pretty much get almost everything I just mentioned anyway. Go check them out, and that's our show.
That's it. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for sitting through this many hours of Chad Reed. But we've got some cool shows coming up, and we'll try not to have the big lags between. We just didn't want to put other shows in between Chad's series, so we kind of waited for him. But we're going to grab a gear and hit the throttle, and we've got some great shows queued up. So stay tuned. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next show.